Oh, yeah. Look at that seamless transition there. We're live. We're local. We are late breaking. It's back again every Wednesday, 4 p.m. Eastern. Hey, it's 4 o'clock somewhere. Let's get fired up. Oh, we weren't supposed to show that on air. Yeah, okay. I'm back on the late afternoon old guy coffee kick, but just for today. I'm telling you that. Hey, it's the BCX. Put it up. Get fired up. It's Campbell's Rambles back at the regular time, back to fill the next few hours or as long as you guys are willing to stay here asking me questions, allowing me to speak in really exaggerated circles, but happy to be here with you. This is the proprietor of this channel, the Brian Campbell Experience, your boy BC. Just fired up to be alive, okay? We all got challenges. We all got things to get through. Keep getting through it. Keep pushing it. Keep fighting. That's what the heck I am talking about, people. All right. Yes, Zeb, tell them about it. Blessed be this day, today, the day that we found this t-shirt, Zeb. I didn't even realize I had this. It's been like 4 years at the bottom of the drawer, but shout out to my nice $4.99 pickup back in the Reebok era. Okay, Robert Whitaker, the Reaper. I'm about to reap through this chat. You know what I'm talking about? Let's go. Let's go. All right. Yes, exaggerated circles indeed. If you subscribe to it, is there anything better than a warm cup of coffee in the late afternoon when you're a middle-aged man? That's what I'm talking about. Smoke them if you got them. Tip your waitresses. 2-drink minimum. This is that point in the week where we get together. It's kind of a men's club. I mean, are women allowed? Yes, they just don't want to be here, right? Okay, it's kind of like a social hour or a men's club. I'm the BBC. You're the people. You're the people. And we do this for the people, okay? Because, darling, you know what I was born as, all right? Tell him, Jay Fish. That's what I'm talking about, Stephen T, all right? But let me bang, bro. Please, okay? Unshaven, midlife crisis hat on, but fired up, ready to be here. And what a week in combat sports, right? Coming off of the hangover of that freaking fantastic theatrical absolute gift that was Eubank Jr. versus Ben. Eggings for everybody. What a time. And now we transition into this very, very, very big boxing week. We got a UFC fight night that you can't miss. Just Bleed Radio UK. Is that my guy, Danger Mouse? Okay. He's ready to go. He's got all the gimmicks. He's ready to go. He's ready to party, this guy. Shout out to JBR wherever they are. Okay, I'm waiting for the call, right? You know what I mean? I thought we had something going here. All right, what's going on here? But JBR is in the house. Maybe some of the regulars will roll in. You know what I'm talking about? The Allen W's, the 9:15 a.m.s of this world, right? Lazy Bed is here. All right, Lazy Bed is here. Dick's Insider. That's got to be our goal in life, right? Yeah, let's go. It's so good. It's so good. What is so good? I don't know. But yeah, there we go. So big week for the fights. Cinco de Mayo weekend, if you get down like that. My 18th wedding anniversary weekend, if you get down like that. I hope you don't. It's a 2-person marriage, but thank you for the support just the same. Early question coming in from Old Man Dave. What happened to David Appleton? Still a rapey French teacher or Englishman living abroad in Paris and chasing many broads, but big fan of that guy. He's still around. He's still kicking. He's still in the DMs every once in a while. I've been trying to get him on this program, but he is a busy man. Maybe next week if I work a little harder and set that up. Big Bad Baines is here. All the people, all the folks, right? Maybe we'll get a no-seater shout out, but you're going to get me life update. How we doing, guys? How we doing? Seriously, how you doing? How you doing? I'm unshaven. I don't have a broadcasting opportunity until the end of May as of right now. Okay. So I'm going to let this disgusting thing go for a while. Trying to get a lot of sun, been doing some yard work. You know how that life is. Kids track meets, college visits. What a time. You know what I mean? You blink and your kids are ready to leave the house. Don't blink. Do not blink. All right. Don't do it. Yep. Yeah, there is a third spot in my marriage bed for Reginald Jacks. Actually, all 5 animals are typically trying to take my spot in that same aforementioned bed. But that's the life I choose as an animal lover, right there. Like my guy, Average Joe. That guy's got like 10 animals. Wow, a lot of love going around in that house. MK update. We will be back this Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern time in the New York studio. Right. Get fired up. Let's do it. Okay. We didn't go this past Monday. I had a family college visit admissions type thing is, I don't know what you call it. When you take your kids to the college and you go all day, you meet the people and everyone's like, oh, wow, that thing. But we're back in the studio this Friday. And it is the same day, of course, as that stacked triple header in Times Square that Turkey Al-Sheikh is giving us. Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney, Teofimo. So I'm not staying for the fights, but I'm sure I'll get a little bit of that excitement when I enter Penn Station and exit there. I see L&W has arrived. I have done the L&W homework of the 2010 film, The Way, written, produced, directed by one of the Estevez brothers. Okay, so we'll be talking about that today as well. Wow, a lot of good questions coming in already. So you know the routine, you know the plan, right? And to close on the MK update. Not going to be in studio Monday, but we'll have a remote episode. The reason why is because next Wednesday, a week from today, oh yeah, I guess I'm going to have to move this here, BCX Ramble. A week from friggin' today, we will be back in the studio with the Iceman, Chuck Mindenhall, the myth himself, to get fired up for 315. Is it UFC 315? Jack Della against good old Bilal? Yeah, there it is. So, whoomp, there it is. Let's go. Let's get fired up. Awesome film, says the guy in the chair. Well, this guy in this chair is also saying awesome film. More to come on that. BCX update. Really not much going on. I've been having busy lifetimes, and that's been putting the channel on the back burner. But we still plug in for the Ramble today on Wednesday. We still get ready live tomorrow morning. That's Thursday if you're in the U.S. 11 a.m. Eastern time. Your boy BC and Rafe Bugs. We got a big week of boxeo to unpack and discuss. So tomorrow morning, check that out live. We do have a visitor already, the Reg. It's like, do I get up and close the door, or is he just going to open it up another 17 times? You know what I'm saying? It's like, should I even brush my teeth tonight? They're just going to get dirty tomorrow. These are the conversations that circle in my head. All right. We got a nice love coming in from Kevin Holland Oates. Nice one right there. Love you, BC. You're a beautiful man with a beautiful soul. All right. All right. How about that wholesome moment? Little chat Bushido going on. All right. We are rambling here. Yeah, that's what we do. All right. All right. So no channel update besides that offering tomorrow. Reggie, how you doing? How you feeling, kid? Let's see this guy. Yeah. The Reg is back. He's here. He's here. He is a menace to society. Believe that, okay? Believe that. But he's my guy. He stands up for me. I stand up for him. That's what any weird relationship between a 46-year-old man and a cat should be like, right? You know what I mean? I got this guy's back right here, okay? I'm protecting him. That's what I'm talking about. Team Reggie is in this place. All right, Reg, you feeling it? You're fired up. You're ready? All right. I don't know. Just want to spread goodwill, spread joy, okay? Kind of went through a funky week myself, just kind of tired. You ever come back from vacation and you just can't kick that tired feeling, right? And then you're like, oh man, I got to get up at 4 a.m. for this train station for MK, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it happily. Okay. This is the damn life I choose. Today is the day the Lord has made, right? All that good stuff. So let's get fired up. Let's live our lives. All right. You guys see that LT post? He is in South Florida on a reconnaissance mission. Hopefully he'll be breaking that news soon. Let's get out there, MFers, and live that life. Attack. Okay. Reach. No, Reggie, we're not with the jab, Reggie. All right. Yeah. Alan W's favorite cat right here. Reginald Jackson. Thank you, Big Al, for the support. One day, if we can get Alan W out of hiding, we can get him on the show, maybe with like a darkened face and like one of those voice changers to protect his anonymity, if you will you? I mean, have you considered it? I don't know. But that's the Reg right there. So folks, okay? So folks, we're going to get to your questions after I ramble about a few topics in order. That's how it works. The super chat is open. What a grifting gimmick that is. But, it's open to support the chat, support this guy's vinyl habit. I mean, as we like to say in this show, somebody's got to put these kids through college. Is it me? It might be me. We'll see. It might be you. We'll find out. DJ Serenity now. Been a rough week here too, BC. Happy. Yeah, sometimes I need you guys more than I assume you need me, right? We're all in this together, all right? Sometimes everything's going great, and then you wake up in a cloud of doubt and fear. You're like, how did I get here? How do I get out of here? You keep going. You keep getting up. You remember the good times. You count your blessings. You get freaking after it. All right, let's go. Okay, here we go. All right. Alan W, you want me to do? Okay, all right, Al. All right. No, sorry. This will not be the Roddy Piper, Bad News Brown WrestleMania match that we're not allowed to talk about anymore. But thank you, just the same. Alan W is a spicy guy. He'll catch you. He'll catch you off guard with one of those counters down low. All right. Then now we're getting weird here. Okay, thank you very much. Let me lick you up. Yeah, lick you down like a stamp. Right. That's what I'm not talking about at all. All right. Let me close this door. Does my family deserve to hear this podcast at full blast? Probably not. They hear enough of the full. They hear the life podcast that's going on 24/7 in this place. Okay, to mixed reviews in this house. I will say very mixed reviews. Hold on, Reg. Give him something to talk about here, Reg. What do you got for me? Let's hear from Keith Thurman. Heard Keith Thurman was going to be here. Sounded boring. Found the man. Still sounded boring. Yeah. Poor Keith Thurman. Looks like he lost that big fight. We'll get into that later as well. All right, let's start the show. Let's do it. All right. I did it my way. I mean, did you guys, real quick roundup of events, did you guys see the Smashing Machine movie trailer with The Rock, Benny Safdie, right, of Uncut Gems fame? We had heard all those reports coming in that this was going to be an awful movie and a weird performance, and it still might be, but I have to say, as everyone else has, even though it feels like they basically just took the 2002 fantastic, underrated HBO documentary, The Smashing Machine, on Mark Kerr and his run through that Pride tournament and the candid ways in which he showed his drug use, injuries, issues, all that. It looks like they kind of basically just shot a movie version of that, but it looks pretty interesting. As Alan W would mention, Emily Blunt is in it, to be blunt with you. And what's going on? What is it? Big Bad Baines, is Dwayne wearing, is it an AI change? Is it, what he looks obviously markedly different, but to already hear people that knew Mark Kerr, that came up with him, to hear them who have seen early, looks at this movie and said, basically, The Rock has figured out how to walk like Mark Kerr, how to act like him. It's going to be worth our time. I'm sure the Safdies have a reputation. So I'm going to check it out. Am I high on The Rock right now? Am I high on Rock Johnson? Nah, brah. Okay. I was in the theater for Black Adam, right? I was watching WrestleMania this year when the big boss, or whatever, the end boss, what does he call himself? The end times boss? I don't know. When that guy didn't show up. Okay. So, but even though Mark Kerr is sort of an interesting person to do a movie like this about, meaning that, there was a time where he was a very, very, very big name. Legend would be too strong. Legend. I mean, I don't know. Won a couple one night UFC tournaments at a really dark time for the company, but probably did his biggest things in Pride there. But it's also interesting that The Rock would choose this subject to do this. So if you got him, Just Bleed Radio, okay? Smoke him if you got him, indeed. The other bit of weirdness that I wanted to mention before these three topics, the heck's going on with Bill Belichick in that CBS interview and this girlfriend of his. I mean, it was already friggin' weird that she's 24, he's like 74. I mean, there's part of us degenerates that are like, score one for the old guy, right? But what about when the old guy is still wearing the sweatshirts with the holes in it, and he's like, Machado Gary Cuckle Evans in that interview, and then his handler / girlfriend is, interrupting, and we can't talk about the story of how we met. That doesn't scream sex trade, does it? I mean, what are we doing here, right? It's just, this is as weird a turn for a name who has had such unprecedented success in teams, professional team sports, even though he's always been aloof and weird, meaning Bill Belichick. I mean, how could you argue with the success at basically every stop along the way? It is kind of weird and peculiar that at this age he's going back to college, which doesn't make, it's an interesting experiment. And it's not that I don't, I mean, should old rich guys be allowed to just get some young poontang? I mean, live your life, right? But it's weird to begin with. But then when she's stepping in, be like, no, we're not talking about that. Or when she's, on the field in a job role for UNC football, and the college is starting to get nervous, and she's CC'd on every email. It's getting weird. It's getting real weird in here. Is this a thing where Bill is one of those, genius individual savants who is absolutely amazing at one thing in their life and everything else around it is an absolute S show? I mean, I wonder if people say that about me sometimes, right? It's like, pretty good podcaster and announcer. What about the yard work? Not good. What about the cooking? Not that good either. All right. All right, you get the point here. But maybe he's an extreme case of that, right? Because if you're really thinking about it, and yes, there's exceptions. And no, I'm not trying to do a long-winded bit to end with a helicopter joke here. But if you want to be ultra psychotically great at something, you kind of need to be ultra psychotic. You kind of need to have that Michael Jordan, Kobe, Bean Bryant mean streak where nothing else matters but the W. And as a guy who's overly competitive in my own small circles, whether that's my job, my basketball game with the old guys, or me coming out of retirement 2 days ago when my son challenged me to a game of 21 in the driveway. He's 5'10", he's 17 years old, he's a great athlete. And everyone in this house was thinking, no, BC, your time is over. You retired from hoops, didn't you, last year? And then this guy pulls out a 22-20 victory in OT with a bank shot at the buzzer just to remind people what it's all about, okay? That's what I'm talking about. Actually, what I was really talking about was to be that great at one thing and it basically instill all of your passions, focus, and drive into that one thing. I guess I sort of assume that somebody could be a mess everywhere else. Is this more just a convenience play for Bill? I get it all in one package. I get a girlfriend. I mean, who cares if she's the age of my grandkids, but I get a girlfriend, I get a personal secretary, I get a brand manager, I get, you know what I'm trying to say. Maybe it's like, it kind of just evolved. It was all of those things to begin with. And who cares if she's an opportunist? But that interview was just freaking bizarro world that is taking this into like, Bill, blink twice. If she's got your bank, if she's already invested all of your money elsewhere, blink twice. Okay. Like, wow. Right. There we go. BC's about to attack the Jon Jones situation. Thank you, Kirk Hill. But I mean, didn't I have to? Yeah. Hi, Lazy. How are you, brother? Didn't I have to? I had a comment on it, right? Is it Jordan? What, Hanson? Scott? Yeah, this is a developing story to say the very least. All right. I mean, Bill's, not that handsome, right? There's something else going on here. All right. There we go. Yep. Okay. Two Chang's back. This is a great guy right here. Two Chang's. That's what I'm talking about. We all knows this ends with her. It probably will. You know what I mean? And you know what's interesting too? Not that I didn't know there was this side to this man. I mean, there's a dark side to everybody, but I saw the Netflix trailer as well for this Brett Favre hit piece that's coming out. That's probably justified based upon everything you see in there, from taking all that money that was supposed to be the old people to sending Jen Sturger those stick pics aggressively, right? I just hope old Bill doesn't get, yeah. I mean, he's entering Ioli territory, if you get what I'm saying. Hold on. I got cat issues. All right. I'll be right back. We're going to talk Jon Jones. It's going to probably be the best part of the show until I burp a lot or something. You know what I mean? There we go. Right.
Jim, I got to tell you something. Are these guys Russian or are they just in a hurry?
All right, back for more. Here we go. Robert Whitaker t-shirt back in rotation. That's what I'm talking about. All right. You reap what you sow. Yeah, whatever that is. All right. Let's get into the old Jon Jones thing. It's our top story. Well, no, it was supposed to be our second story, but it's become our damn top story. So where are we right now? The real answer is we don't freaking know. And that's the problem. We're 2 months out from UFC 317. And that might not be necessarily Jon Jones related, because none of us really seem to believe that if Jon will fight Aspinall this year, that will take place anywhere but MSG, NYC. They'll break another astronomical live gate record, blah, blah, blah. Except for the fact that people won't stop talking about this thing that Chael Sonnen put into the ethosphere. That basically is like, I'm hearing that we could have Tom Aspinall Sarragon for the interim title first, like we can't get Jon to agree. Like for all these reports that have been leaking out in the last month, which seem to be false, of like, guys, the fight is, 99% there. Like we just need a fresh signature. Like, no, it's not. I don't believe you guys have figured out the main issue right now, which is probably the amount of money that Jon is willing to accept. It ain't nothing on Jon to stretch this out as far as he wants to, but it's more than not nothing. It's something in a very aggressive, annoying way to everyone else associated by proxy to this, meaning Tom Aspinall and his career arc, the heavyweight division at large, the UFC's reputation in a very poor year for them PR wise as they continue to cash in, hand over fist. And are we on the downslope long road of them extracting every piece of dollar and cent that they can from this brand just in time to flip it to somebody else? I mean, that just kind of feels like where we're going. But as we've talked about ad nauseam, or I have on the various programs that you tune into, if you will, Dusty, we've basically talked about this whole thing that like all will be forgiven, in my personal opinion, even for the shitty year and the direction we're going, if you still make the big things matter, right? If you still make International Fight Week matter, and while I would love Ilya versus Islam, there are other incarnations that they potentially could do that would still win us over and still make it matter. The same thing with MSG. It's like you can't water down everything, and then the times that we expect you to come in through big, you're still willing to do that. But yet, guys, here we frickin' are 2 months out of the quote-unquote biggest pay-per-view of the year, and we don't have a fight, just like we didn't have a main event a few months out from UFC 300, just like, and it's not the UFC's fault per se that Conor McGregor pulled out of IFW last year, but we've been on a hell of a run. Luckily, Pereira has been there to largely bail them out to the level that it's like, it's almost overkill if he's going to do it again. But the reason why I bring this up in this Jon Jones situation and continue, it's like we update now every episode or every week of like, what's the latest? The reality is the latest is nothing except for the perpetuation of the idea that this Aspinall Gane interim fight may actually be real. Now you got Dean Thomas, who was interviewed by MMA Junkies Mike Bone. Yeah, Mike Bone, right? Yeah. LNW is I don't know if Mikey's up in here. Mikey's always got our back, but I don't know if he's up in here today. But yeah, he's a big part of this operation indeed. Speak now or forever hold your pipe, Mikey, if you're here. All right. When you're starting to hear Dean Thomas and like if it's just Chael, you can write it off. I mean, he had said the opposite like the day before, right? But if it's Chael and Dean, like we're starting to get people that are connected, that hear the whispers, that show up on UFC programming and broadcasts, that are in the inner circle. I am wondering if they are really, really, really willing to do something like this, to serve up Aspinall Gane in an interim title defense, just as Jon is closing in on the record for the longest title reign yet isn't fighting. I don't think he actually is. Kane had a much longer run, but I think, Aspinall just passed the Baron, the great Renan Barão, for the longest interim run. It is such a, even with the promise of, don't worry, Jon just needs more time. Like we are past the point where excuses would be acceptable, where shifting the blame would be acceptable. And what I mean by that, I don't know, and we don't know the true insides of the negotiation and who's at fault, who's holding it up or what. Like, they allowed the Stipe Jon fight to go another additional year, which means it was up to them. They owed to us as fans to basically sign Jones Aspinall within seconds, minutes, hours, or days after Jones Miocic ended. Like, okay, I get it. You took your stand, UFC. You wanted to do Jones Stipe. You wanted to give Jon a chance to win and look great at MSG. We'll charge $1 million per seat. But to be 6 months later, and we don't seem to have any progress, at least not what they're willing to share publicly. I'm wondering if the UFC is closing in on the type of, like, what is that turning point? What is the step too far? What do I mean by that? I have been sniffing out a while back, the sort of changes, the watering down of the product or the whatever of where we are now. And at that time, people don't want to hear that, and that's fine. And other people like the Jonas Nashes, the Zach Arnold of the MMA Draw, shout out to that guy. He's does tremendous investigative work. They've been hitting it from the inside of the TKO finances and looking at it from that way. But not all of those decisions are going to turn every fan away. Some fans just want their programming on Saturday. We don't care who it is. And so what if the pay-per-views are a little watered down? I'm stealing them. I don't buy them anyway, as most people would probably say. Or just like, hey, at least we get the big main events with the title fights. And it's not like we've been getting bad matchmaking on that standpoint. You still get big fights. So I get that. But what is the point that's too far? For some in London, it was that card. It was charging extreme pay-per-view prices for a card that was so low in value comparatively. It's not even extreme. It's like world record pay-per-view prices. And that was sort of a turning point for some people going, you know what? I can't do this anymore. I can't support them. I can't save up my discretionary income and wait for them to come to my city because they're going to act like they don't care and roll out crap and Dana might not even show up, right? Like that's sort of where we're going. But what is that move that's too far for not a niche part of the audience, not the angry media who are getting phased out, not the fan who goes to, as many cards as they can, but can't afford it? What's the point where the rest of the people just go, you know what? This ain't as fun as it was post-pandemic. Like, what are we doing here? To me, I'm wondering if it's this. If they hit us UFC 317 IFW with a main event of Tom Aspinall defending not the full title, not the, hey, John, shitter, get off the pot. You waited too long. Get off the pot and retire. You're done. You effed with us. We're going Team Aspinall. Now we're moving forward. Not like I would necessarily want that because I want Jones Aspinall, but you go, look, F John. We'll put it all on John. We'll put all the blame whether he deserves it or not. But if they roll out Tom versus Cyril Gain, as Boney would say, in a interim title fight to headline IFW, I feel like that is the stabbing to the heart of the hardcore people that are like, yeah, I don't really care. I'm just here for the betting show. I'm just here for the main card minute every Saturday, right? Like, yeah, and that's fine. That's a core tenor, the backbone of this audience. But what is too much? How far is too far? Because that's an F freaking you to the people when you are the UFC and you have the reputation of full dominant monopoly monopsistic. Is that a word? Let me ask Eric McGracken. By the way, Eric McGracken jacked his shit on Twitter. Did anybody see that picture? Shout out to that Canadian lawyer. We're doing the P90X behind the scenes, brother. Get after it. Damn. But what a slap in the friggin' face. Right, in the face. That would absolutely be to basically say, we are the UFC. We keep all the prices down of the fighters. We force people into taking the fights we want. We control everything. We brag all the time that we're not like boxing, even though we're actively trying to get into boxing. And boxing's been kicking our ass on the highest of high levels in terms of providing entertainment. No, you're exactly like boxing. You're basically following a boxing playbook. But if we are at the point where you literally cannot make Jones Aspinall in any form of a timely manner, or you just can't draw a line in the sand that says, this is the date, accept it or not, or we're moving on. Like at this point, just put freaking, like, I know Poatan just lost to Ankalaev, so that kind of screwed up an alternate timeline. But how close are we just from activating the alternate timeline and going, F it, Aspinall versus Poatan for the vacant heavyweight champion? Like where are we at with that? Or do they really just not freaking care? Or are they still willing to hold back all of the good stuff until this inevitable new TV deal starts and they get their 900 million or 1 billion? But like, are you guys literally willing to take it? And willing to take it is a weird way to say it, because again, a lot of people are consuming the UFC and have for years for free, right? It's not like everybody's holding house parties and buying it the traditional way in both sports. The pay-per-view's not dead, but it's hanging on, right? But how about supporting it with your time, with your care level, with your clicks, with your anything? If they're basically like, yeah, I know it's like 3 years since John won the heavyweight championship, but we can't get him to official. So, we're just going to do this fight first and we'll figure out if Jon really wants it later in the year. We're not even getting the staged updates from Dana where he's just dunking on Jon to put all the pressure on him saying, yeah, I don't think Jon wants it. We're not even getting that. That used to be out of the playbook 101. We're not even getting that. We're getting Dana just going, don't have anything else to report today. I'll go back over here and count my money. You know, guys, it's 2 months. You know, and it's like, if IFW is what it's supposed to be, what it's created to be, this Super Bowl once a year, I know it really, you could argue it never truly became that, but I think it came close at times. The idea, it was like that in a work sense. When I was at CBS, I'm still at CBS Sports, but in times when the decision of which fights I was going to travel to do blowout coverage, it was like IFW was always number one on the list, because in a casual term, in the thought process of most people, oh, that's their one weekend a year, right? That's the weekend of the year where they throw everything at it, where you come, you buy the hotel for the week, you get the Hall of Fame, you get the fan thing, you get the this, you get the that. I mean, that's what you get. But you also have to like secure that stuff in advance, you know, your hotel rooms, your setup and all that. And maybe you're waiting to see who's actually on this card to make it worth it. But oh God, it's 60 days out. And what if we roll out this interim title? So look, without knowing the insides of the actual debate, discussion, and the negotiations, I can't put the blame on people. I don't know if we're blaming Jon for asking for too much money or if we're blaming the UFC for not having a deadline. Like, I don't really know. But the whole final point is, I don't really care either, because you have stretched this out to the point where you now have go home heat. We just want it over. We just want it over. There's not really a heavyweight division after Jon for Tom to fight with, but now I'm interested in him fighting every single one in order, so he still has enough time to basically finish out his legacy, and we'll find out for the best we can how good this man actually is. Why the hell are we stretching this out when Jon had 3 years to prepare for his heavyweight turn? And then, okay, got hurt. Could have stripped him, by the way. Could have done Aspinall versus Stipe for the full title or the interim, whatever. But no, we got to push that off a year. Well, now we're going to push it off at minimum at least another year, or maybe more. Because if you're doing Gon Aspinall and you're implicitly saying, or as Chael or Dean or whoever's carrying out the rumored message is saying, is that if you're saying it's for an interim title, then it means you're still holding out hope that Jon will come through. But this isn't the little engine that could promotion where we're going, man, should they risk it all like Vince McMahon did ahead of WrestleMania 1 and put his house on the line and his assets and everything for one night to work? Should they do it for this fight? I'm not sure. They're not in that spot. They're in the spot of absolute crush domination, to the point where the smart people in this business are actually theorizing that they're purposely running it into the ground so then they can flip it and sell it while they take every single dollar they can out of it. What's your turning point, MMA fan? What's your point of no return? Is it still good enough right now? Like, I know he puts his hands on me in the relationship, but I get a necklace every couple of weeks. I get good dinners out of it. Is that enough to keep you there? Like, what are we doing right now? Even if you told me I have inside info and I know it's Jon's fault completely, I'm going to absolve him and say, get your shit together, TKO and UFC. Because you still owe people the pillar minimum of where you are, the control you have over this industry, and the fact that if there is a big fight to make and you've got the two people under contract, I'm not asking you to do the co-promotion with PFL. I don't even know if PFL is going to be around in 6 months, okay? I'm asking you to lift the hood up under your car and change your damn oil. Let's go. Change your underwear too. Let's freaking go. Maybe pause the boxing takeover and the slapping and the whatever and get your freaking house in order. All right? Choose a drink. We got a lot of them over here. All right? Remember these guys? Oh, yeah, we used to work with them, and then something happened, and then this, yeah, it got weird, and yeah, and then it happened again. Yeah, there you go. All right. What did I miss? It's not like I'm saying something new, but I'm saying this is the embarrassment upon embarrassment, the point of no return. If you roll this shit out and just try to sell it as is and say, well, it's going to lead to it. No, you're too far freaking gone. You have missed it. You've missed the plot. Just sell now. Like, sell now before you literally destroy the control and the domination you have. Now, they won't, because that monosynopsistic control is so strong that like, and we got Don Davis running PFL. I mean, did you see Zach Arnold's piece today on the MMA Draw about all those sponsors that are being sued by PFL for non-payment? I mean, what are we doing here? The window is open for there to be a cool alternative, the ECW in the Monday Night Wars. And Don's like, yeah, we've got 16 leagues and 18 title belts, but no one's currently wearing them. But we're going to have a card next week and we're going to put belts on every. Like, that's really what we're doing. You have the opening there. The apathy for UFC is strong. UFC is basically saying, like, we don't even care because we're still getting the money from ESPN. We're still going to get the money from Netflix or Prime. And these MFers are still buying these tickets, right? And we're keeping the salaries low. Make the freaking fight already. What the hell are you doing? Have some pride in your damn reputation and job. All right. All right. Topic number 2. Boxing's big weekend, guys. Like a really big weekend. So if you know, and I know you do, we have 2 unofficial holidays in boxing. May 5th weekend, Cinco de Mayo, and the September 16th weekend, Mexican Independence Day weekend in Las Vegas. Who started that? I mean, it was a big Oscar de la Hoya thing. Floyd took the mantle. I mean, was Chavez Sr. fighting on Vegas on Cinco de Mayo? I mean, like, it's been an idea that's been around. But once Floyd took that mantle from Oscar, and then Canelo took it back when Floyd was retired, but was the Mexican national doing it, we know what it means. You're going to get, in theory, although that doesn't always happen, but boxing's got a lot of disorganization compared to the UFC's control that it's understanding. But it's the idea that you're going to get the fight of the year. But this year, or the card of the year, but that's not really true, right? Because boxing doesn't always load up their pay-per-view main cards before Turkey, right? You got to go back to the Don King days. But the whole point is, this time we're basically saying, instead of one card, one night, we're going to get 3 consecutive nights of big-time boxing and big-time names. That is interesting. It's unique. It's ambitious. It is, when you consider the fact that we're also talking about 3 very distinct locations. Turkey and the Ring Magazine series putting on Friday's card. I think there's 4 or 5 fights now, but it's a triple header in terms of what we really care about. In Times Square, like on the ground in Manhattan, which it might rain. We're going to have to see what happens with that. And quibble if you want about the matchups, like why are we not getting Haney Garcia 2 now? But also they've both been off a year. I'm okay with this. You're telling me there's a card where you got Teofimo Lopez in a really interesting fight, and Haney and Garcia in kind of interesting fights, and you got big personalities. I'm in. And then Saturday we go to Saudi, and it's freaking Canelo. And then Sunday we go to Vegas, Cinco de Mayo weekend, and it's not a Mexican huge name champion, but it is Naoya Inoue, arguably the pound for pound best, one of the bigger attractions in this game, coming back to the U.S. and taking on a Mexican American in Ramon Cardenas. So on the surface, it is like a big deal. It's almost like, hey guys, don't call me this weekend. I'm going to be inside with a 18 rack of Modelo, right? I'm going to con character with my Tecate over here, and I'm going to have a great time. And look, star power wise, some interest in some of the matchups you are. And just again, the Times Square thing is a big, bold move by Turkey. I don't know the price on that. It's got to be steep. So I want to kind of say, like, let's give Turkey a little bit of applause. He rolls out the Ring Magazine series last weekend in London to one of the best atmospheres we've seen, one of the best builds to a fight we've seen, and then the cherry on top, the fight just absolutely kills it. And he's bringing that momentum here into the second Ring Magazine card. And the third one coming up in New York at a location to be announced in July, not bad either. So in that regard, I'm like, Turkey's spending money. He's trying stuff. Like, I got to give him big ups for that. Do you see that trailer, that movie commercial for the card? Although it was focused exclusively on Haney and Garcia, it was pretty awesome. But I'm not here to be a hater, but I'm also here to tell you the other half of the story. right? Bivol, the first time Rolly will be in the ring with someone even crazier than him. Let's go. I mean, in theory, that's a fun joke, but Ryan's been very calm, coy, cool, collected. Hold on. Reggie's back. I got to get the door. I mean, this is really, it really gets in the way. Check out the USB stick.
A message to Brian Campbell. Do not ask me what is on the USB stick.
All right. We got problems here? Yeah, we got problems here. Hold on. Technical. No, very technical difficulties. All right. I mean, it's just at the end of the day, it's just a guy in his basement. All right. You know what I'm saying? All right. All right. Let's not hold the show up or anything. All right, here we go. You ready, Reg? But there's another side to it. You're not saving boxing by doing this. And it's not that Turkey, for whatever he says, was ever really trying to do that. He's trying to push his nation first using their budget, right, to make it a more welcoming vacation destination, to change their focus of income to being oil dependent, to entertainment, like all those things. And he's trying to become clearly the most powerful force we've ever seen in boxing, almost like Don King and Al Heyman combined, right? And there's the ambitious plan of the eventual TKO shift and the point to take over the sport. But even though I'll credit him for spending the money and giving, if you're a true boxing fan, like a full weekend, a full buffet of different kind of interesting things, it's not without some necessary level of not complaint, but critique. First and foremost, you're not saving boxing or really creating any avenue for new fans to like, it's like, it's like there's that other argument to Turkey for all the money that he spent for his nation, for himself to have this impact in boxing. You could argue and say it's mostly been on pay-per-view. Maybe you could have taken some of that money and bought time buys on big network TV. Like imagine just for example, imagine if this Times Square card on Friday, which is not even selling tickets, right? Because of local Manhattan laws there in terms of like doing something outdoors like that. I guess you can't sell tickets. Imagine if you put that on CBS in prime time live. First of all, boxing in Times Square is going to turn in a lot of eyeballs. Second of all, they're not getting a live gate anyway. It doesn't seem like Turkey cares about that. Like that's just an example of what could have been done. And the whole idea of like saving boxing, like the counter argument to that, the real reality is, and I don't even know if it was ever an option to put Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney and Teofimo on primetime TV, but the whole point is that's how you would reach into the living room of casuals and say, just like PBC tried in 2015, and say, we are the new. The Ring, Turkey, one day TKO, we are the new. Watch this. But instead, even though Eubank Jr. Ben was absolutely fantastic, and shout out to the Ring for putting it for free on their YouTube channel, like right away. I know they've been doing that. Shout out to that. But you're asking fans, boxing fans, hardcore boxing fans, the ones that you're hoping won't illegally stream, to buy 3 DAZN pay-per-views in 8 days, okay, including back-to-back nights. And even though the third show, the Inoue one, is a top-ranked show, it's going to be on ESPN Plus. Turkey's still a big part of that, in that he's got the Ring ambassador deal with Inoue. So like Turkey's got his hand in this whole weekend. And I think it is worthy to say, are you going to find any new fans that way? And even the Inoue fight, it's Sunday night. The card starts at 10 p.m. Eastern time. Obviously that's probably more of an ESPN decision, but still you're like, how many people are going to tune in for that one? And maybe most importantly, the biggest names on all 3 cards are fighting the weakest levels of competition. Let's just be really honest about that. And to maybe make matters even worse, especially from an American boxing perspective, you're taking the most popular guy in Canelo Alvarez, the guy who guaranteed, if you put him in a Vegas arena, you put him in Jerry World in Dallas, whatever. I mean, don't forget the amount of tickets that were sold when Canelo fought Liam Smith in Jerry World. Like, it's Liam Smith we're talking about, right? It was almost like, as much as Canelo is so blatantly ducking Benavidez and screwing the pooch, still him fighting Berlanga and Jaime Munguia, because I was there at both of them, were very big events with insane gates. And now Turkey, to stiff arm Jake Paul's entity and keep that competition away, has of course signed away Canelo to 3 of his next 4 fights in Saudi. So now Canelo is going to be fighting an opponent that nobody cares about in Saudi. in a 6,000 person arena with no buzz. Like, did you see the grand arrivals they did the other night there for Canelo? It was like 6 people there. So it's like, at what point are you watering things down? And, Inoue's fighting Ramon Cardenas. I love Cardenas. He's a slugger, brawler. Called his fights on Showtime. Is he on the level right now of getting people fired up for a big Inoue fight? No, right? You know what I mean? And it's almost like an afterthought having it on Sunday night. So I certainly can quibble with, even though in the boxing world, I'm sure Friday's card is going to be awesome. I'm sure the fights are going to be, I'm sure I'm going to come on and do a post, IA afterwards on this channel, because there's going to be so much to talk about. And that's going to further the Ring brand. Like, right now, I have good things to say about the Ring magazine fight series. Like, it's pretty awesome. They've been on a good run here. But what can we say overall? It's like, how many fights does Canelo have left? And I know that he's fighting William Skull so that we can get the undisputed title back. But it's like, Canelo, it only became disputed, like Jon Jones's very disputed heavyweight title reign right now, not undisputed. That's that ESPN MMA tweet incorrectly said, or the Sports Center one. But like, this fight is only needing to happen because Canelo wanted to fight Berlanga instead of doing his mandatory. So they stripped him and gave the belt to Skull, or gave him a chance to win it. And I don't know if you people have seen William Skull versus Vladimir Shishkin last October for the vacant title in Germany. I hope you didn't. It was a horrible fight, a horrible watch. Skull's not on his level. I mean, it happens in boxing. There's mandatories. Avni Yildirim was not on Canelo's level, but they still filled the big stadium in Miami and got people excited about it. I don't know how anyone in boxing, hardcores especially, are even remotely excited about Canelo's Skull. It's not building to anything. We already know we're probably getting, Canelo Crawford. Maybe, I guess storyline wise, it makes a lot of sense. You get Canelo undisputed again, so that when he fights Crawford, you can sell it as Crawford's trying to become the first 3-division 4-belt undisputed in history. I get all of that side of it. But the combination of Inoue and Canelo in terms of who they're fighting kind of feel like womp, right? Like, Friday's the jewel in a lot of ways. And even on Friday, people expect Ryan Garcia to blow through Rolly. But I'm here to tell you it's going to be entertaining as hell. And if Rolly has any moments, it's going to be double, triple entertaining. And I actually think Jose Ramirez is the perfect hard test for Haney moving up to welterweight. Well, it's a 144 catchweight, but moving up in theory to welterweight, and his first fight in the year since he lost to Ryan. And he had a really bad year PR-wise, as did Ryan. Not as bad, but pretty bad himself. So, like, that's interesting enough. And the Teofimo fight is great against our unbeaten Arnold Barboza Jr. So it's like, would you have accomplished more for boxing and even your bottom line if you had instead just combined all 3 cards together and had another one of these super cards that you promote as the biggest card of all time? I don't know, because as much as I freaking love the idea of spending all that money and putting a big card with big personalities on the ground in Times Square, love it. Boxing needs more uniqueness like that. What Ring City did of the series I used to call, going to different weird spots, and now what Turkey wants to do, Alcatraz, right? This kind of stuff. Fans can't go to that. You can't sell tickets. There's going to be a small group for, people associated with the fight, for media, and for, like, they said they're going to give it to influencers and really try to drum up the excitement of it. So if you are like a hardcore fan, you're kind of going like, yeah, it's boxing this whole weekend, but I got to pay a lot of money to see it. So it is the good and the bad. And I guess that has been the enduring theme of the Turkey experience so far. It's been a lot of good. There's definitely been a lot of bad, or things to nitpick, or things to be fearful of for the future. I think largely this is very good. Haney Garcia 2 is going to be huge. I don't mind. It's a gamble, but the reason why I'm not upset and I'm not doing the whole marination thing is because even if one or both loses, the whole point of seeing them again, like, it's not even about titles at that point. But damn, it's like no casual fans are going to stumble into any of this, and the hardcores that really care are going to be buying 3 pay-per-views in 8 days. So it has its good, it has its bad. Final topic quickly here. The breaking news that came out in boxing, PBC related, from a bunch of outlets, and I think confirmed by PBC, at least confirmed that that's the direction they're going, is that we all thought Sebastian Fundora was going to have a purse bid for Xander Zayas and maybe be the first fight in this newly talked about top-ranked PBC union, because Zayas is the mandatory for one of Fundora's 2 belts at 154. The fact that it was going to a purse bid had me a little nervous. I just want you to know, because it's like, well, if these companies are willing to work together, but now they can't come to a deal, so it has to go to purse bid. Okay, but still, it's a great fight. And then I didn't need, at this point, Tszyu versus Thurman, especially since they both just had well talked about comeback fights, but unfinished business, it was fine. And now we hear TKO, or not TKO, PBC is basically like, change of plans. Fundora is going to give up that belt that he was supposed to defend against Zayas. Zayas will fight somebody else for that. And we're going to do Fundora-Tszyu Part 2. In the rematch of that absolute bloody war in the first PBC pay-per-view on Prime Video, that was a last-minute fight that was just gnarly and incredible and changed the fortunes of both fighters. I like this. I like this a lot. I mean, it's some weird boxing politics, like him giving up the belt. And does this make me less confident of Top Rank and PBC working together in the future? It does, to be fair. And I hope that this is an isolated incident in that regard. I don't know the full or real reason why Samson Lukowicz and Team Fundora switched course like that. But storyline wise, for hierarchy in the division wise, we got to see this. This has to happen. And I know the hierarchy of the division thing is tough to say when Tzew's coming off of 2 losses last year and a comeback win against Joey Spencer that was expected. But I still think you have to talk about the fact that Tim Tszyu, that vicious cut opened up from an elbow early in that fight, fought his heart out, spilled a million jugs of blood. So even though, yes, he had the even worse performance against Murtazaliev in the next fight for a title, there's unfinished business here. A lot of us felt like Tszyu was going to win that fight. A lot of us felt like Tszyu was on his way to winning that fight. But the fact that Fundora did what he did, won like that, even though he took a long time off and came back recently and took down Cordell Booker, he has built his brand up to I remember after the Mendoza knockout, we were like, I'm not sure this guy's ever going to be. So now they're both kind of repuffed up and resurfaced, and this will bring power, even though there's only going to be one title at stake. In some ways, the winner of this fight could have something to say about where they stand in the division. No, it's not lost on me that Bud Crawford's still in this division. I just don't feel like he's ever going to fight in this division again. He says he will. We'll see. But who knows the direction that Canelo fight goes and what the result brings from that. So this is a really good fight. And we're going to see it probably in a pay-per-view. There's talk that there's going to be a pay-per-view in July for PBC and one in August, according to these reports from Lance Pugmire, Dan Rayfield, and Mike Hoppinger, and that one of them will be this fight. One of them will be Tank rematching Roach. There's also that rumor going around of Manny Pacquiao coming back at 46 to fight Mario Barrios for a welterweight title. So I don't know if that's something separate or if that's a part of this. Either way, I do tip the hat to PBC. It wasn't an easy decision, but this fight's going to be awesome. It's going to be must-see. And for either guy, I really think they're going to propel themselves forward. I mean, especially if you're Tszyu and you come back and right that wrong, the momentum's really going to be there for you. So interesting stuff. Reggie's killing me. I got to open the door one more time, and then it's going to be time for your questions. Let's take a drink, just maybe out there, smoke a dart, whatever. But we'll be right back. Okay, we'll be right back.
He can't handle your speed, son.
All right, Reggie. Oh, there you go. All right. All right. I don't know what you tune into this for. For me to have poster issues, for me to pet a cat with a giant rake, or maybe to get your questions heard, asked, delivered. So that part of it is now. Thank you. We made it here. Super chat is open, but you already know the rules with that. Whatever, right? Whatever. Yeah. Although it's pretty awesome. People, whatever. All right, there we go. We've been loading up some super chat questions. You guys have been coming hot and heavy. I know I must have missed some other really good questions. I'll try to sprinkle back. Callum, no, you're the man, Callum. Are you from the UK with that first name or what? What are we doing here? All right. It's time to bang. Whatever you want to talk about, people. All right. We can talk music. We could talk, 90s NBA. I mean, we got a lot of places. Okay, maybe we've got like 4 places we can go. No, we can go anywhere we want. Okay. Like they said in Cruel Intentions, you can put it anywhere. All right. Yeah. Okay. That was a little too far, a little explicit. All right. Real quick boxing question from the old 915er. Does Crawford have a mandatory or is he excused since he's moving up? Dude, these sanctioning bodies just change their rules or the way that they're going to enforce them all the time. So it's like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like some of them, like Usyk got stripped for going into the Fury rematch. Canelo got stripped for fighting Berlanga. But last I checked, Benavidez was Canelo's mandatory forever. He never got stripped, right? He got super champion treatment. So I don't know. Yeah, it would feel like Crawford should be stripped since he hasn't fought in a year, or will be. And he is moving up, but whatever. Sometimes these people just want their title to be around the fighter's waist who can command the most money. Why? Because they're getting that percentage fee when people defend their title. That's the scam. That's how it works. All right, there we go. Great call, Lazy Bed. Callum definitely knows a Liam, and then maybe they're neighbors with Danger Mouse. It's possible. Lazy Bed, great guy. Just Bleed Radio. Does he sound like a teenager on a podcast? We're gonna find out when they invite me on. It's gonna be great. Okay, all right. Let's get into some of these super chats. It's time. All right. Oh, non-super chat here from the great one, Brentendo 64. Love that guy. All right. Or did you also send that in super chat mode? I think he did. No. He did. What a guy. You didn't have to do that, brother. All right. Brentendo, California's own BizPing podcast back in the day. He's seen the One Eye come out. Great guy, right? BC, you recommended Beautiful Girls. Arguably my favorite movie of all time. The 1995, small town New England buddy flick. And it happened to scratch a 90s slice of life itch that I have, says Brandendo. I've since watched, this is great. You're in the right lane right now. Brandendo says he's, after watching Beautiful Girls, he watched Reality Bites and Swingers, which I loved. Any other 90s bangers you want to share? Well, first of all, I mean, a banger. I just, okay. We've heard that, BC. I'm glad you watched that, by the way. Beautiful Girls, so underrated, mostly because of the amount of high level clientele that is in that flick, from Uma Thurman, Matt, what's his name, to Timothy Hutton, Natalie Portman, Rosie O'Donnell, Matt from the damn Pink Flamingo, the guy from the brother on Entourage. You know what the hell I'm talking about, all right? Enough of this, okay? Thank you. So I'm happy you watched that. Incredible cast. All right, let's go back to this. And for me, it just, the movie I think connects because it's set in a random Berkshire, small Massachusetts town, had a feel of my small factory town, and just the way that friend base, the identities they played within the friend base and the way they interacted with each other, it just really hits home. Plus, I always felt like I could really identify. Oh, Michael Rappaport in there. Thank you, Two Chengs, for reminding me about that too. And he probably plays the most important role comedically, but I can almost remember in my life different times where I was each character, in my own life. You know what I mean? In the growth of men, the evolution of the yeah, there we go. Real quick from Brantendo, Beautiful Girls was so good, but does anyone else feel weird about the main character's lust over the very young Natalie Portman? Yes, we do. Yes. And every year it gets weirder, right? Like in the beginning, it's kind of like charming and cute. And you're like, wow, that's young Natalie Portman. And then you're like, yeah, but she's 13. And this guy's like playing 28-year-old and probably 35 in real life. So yeah, it doesn't keep that, that same, classic literary, royalty to it. It screams, Chris Hansen line one. I mean, it really does. But I have to say this. I don't look at that as a flat tire drawback to the movie. I think they handled it beautifully. Right? Like they kind of handled it as well as you could. The friends made fun of him. He realized the main character, Timothy Hutton, he realized not a spoiler alert here, but he kind of realized the answers to the deep questions at that, quarter life crisis that he brought with him to his hometown high school reunion. His, incredible brother, played by David Arquette, who, when I did interview David Arquette, all I did was ask him questions about Beautiful Girls. And he was like, dude, it was my second movie. I really don't remember any of it. I was high all the time. I was like, all right, that's great. Thank you, David Arquette. But Brantendo, you've hit the right lane there. It's like, do you want to taste and experience what the 90s was really like? I mean, Reality Bites is without question, the early Seattle grunge friendship movie. Is that like a 90s version of Diner in a way? Like, yeah, like it tells that story of being young and ambitious, less aggressive, but fearful. And, oh, I'm an adult now, that whole thing. Swingers is just such perfect, legendary improv comedy from two guys in, Favreau and Vince Vaughn, who basically were like, we got this script here, but let's just grab our friends and go out there and F around and just see what we come up with. And, we came up with this cult classic sleeper that, made no money in the theaters, but then everybody my age at the time that I mean, Swingers was mid 90s, but like by the time everyone had it on VHS, it was like pushing 98. Cause I remember turning 21 in 99 that, we're still using those catchphrases when we're going out, where all the high school girls at, like that kind of stuff. So that is a great example of sort of that. Can I throw in, Airheads with Adam Sandler and that, that sort of 90s feel right there. What else can I throw in? I mean, you can throw in any of the early Sandler classics, but that almost brings a different feel, and a goofy SNL feel. I like the ones that are like, it's a great 80s version of the type of movie I'm trying to say but can't say is St. Elmo's Fire. Like that perfect friendship buddy coming of age. We're all effed up, but we got to get through this together. We can encourage each other through our effed upness. That's kind of, I mean, Beautiful Girls is kind of a 90s male version of that movie in some ways, I guess. Those are the kind of ones I love from the 90s that really, yeah, what's that genre called? Life? Is that what it's called? I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. But I'm glad you watched that, Brantendo. I'm trying to think of a sleeper, of one that, because we got a lot of great goofy stoner hits from the 90s. But what about those dramas that are kind of silently funny that just hit? I mean, I think that stretch in the late 90s produced some of the most classic films that I still call among my top 10 favorites today, like that sweet spot pocket when it was like Rounders, Good Will Hunting, you know what I'm saying? That stretch in the late 90s, there was, the early 90s had Reality Bites type movies. It certainly had a large dose of the extended SNL goofy comic universe, from Wayne's World to Austin Powers to every Sandler in between. But an Old Man Dave talking about 16 Candles, which is the 80s version of one of these films, although it's more tainted more towards goofiness and the chase of sex and all that, but one of the all-time classics. Okay, so if we're gonna go, what's the 90s version of 16 Candles, Brantendo? It's Can't Hardly Wait, right? It really is. And that's kind of from that same era of that late 90s stretch that I was talking about, where I felt like they were nailing it. Like the first Scream, the first I Know What You Did Last Summer. I felt like they were kind of on a run. Not all of these films are deep classics like Good Will Hunting that you can give, Academy Award nominations to, but they hit. Speaking of goofy comedies, underrated 90s goofy comedy, Brantendo. And yes, you know what we're talking about back in the late 90s. Thank you. I love that stuff, right? Sleeper comedy, Booty Call, right? With Jamie Foxx, Tommy Davidson, Vivica A. Fox. Very underrated one-liner flick. Okay, so check that out too if you got it. All right. Brody Moret sliding in. We like that guy a lot. Tip the AG1 class over there to Brody. BC, did you listen to Stern in the 90s? Yes. And like those old Howard and Artie Lang clips are so classic. So I'm so old that I used to watch Stern at first in the early 90s when he had that show on Saturday nights on, Channel 9B or whatever, the New York station there. I remember even the pump fake he did with the fake episode where Richard Bay came out and was like, Howard's canceled, I'm your new host. And everyone's like, oh man, what's going on? And they let that thing play out for like 15 to 20 minutes before Howard came in. I remember his first pay-per-view specials. I remember, aggressively being into him as everyone else my age was in the late 90s when the Entertainment Network, was regularly putting his episodes, the archive of his, radio episodes that turned into TV shows on there. I bought the book and read it, saw the movie in the, the theaters, loved it. Eventually kind of got worn out. Used to listen to him in the, I rode a delivery truck in the mid 2000s and I'd listen to some Stern, but I think once he went satellite, I kind of got out and, but there's no question that his voice in the late 90s, if you're coming of age as a dirt hole teenager turned into a man, I mean, he's going to be I guess you could say icon. Now I look back at most of the gimmicks that he had been, you're like extreme cringe, right? Like that was a different time in a lot of ways. But obviously back then it was like, this guy's one of us. This guy is an absolute dirt hole who has the platform to do what he wants, right? Reggie the GOAT, believe it. Okay. Jim Nance, his nephew Andrew is here. Yeah, what's up, fella? Okay. That's what I'm talking about. All right, I got to chip away here. Let's do it. Let's hit up Michael Carson. We've been looking for this fella. He's back. All right, raise it up. Drop a coffee to that working man right there. Where you been? Missed watching the last couple of weeks. Glad to get back on the BC bandwagon. This Kiss, right? Unstoppable. That's what I'm talking about. What am I talking about? Nobody really knows. All right. Let's hear from what Carson really wanted to say. Thank you for the support, MC. All right. Thoughts on Max DP3? Does Poirier go 3-0? We talked about this a bit on MK on Monday, but I sort of echo my thoughts here. Love it. Love that it's a pay-per-view main event on its own without a real title at stake. Love that they put the BMF on there. Love that Dustin, for his going away, didn't accept some last-minute thing. Like, look, he's had multiple runs to the top, right? And credit to him for the reinventions and for all of that. But now it's time to put him exactly in this. A fun Super Bowl All-Star Game fight of his choice, which also happens to have the BMF on it, also happens to have a trilogy in a fun series, a unique series when you consider that their first fight was when they're like, fresh off the back of the truck, teenagers showing up to the job site. Then their second fight is an interim title fight that would have been the fight of the year and what everybody was talking about for months if it wasn't on the same night in Atlanta as Gastelum Adesanya right before it. And now the third time we get them at the end. For Poirier, literally the end. For Holloway, he's closing in on the end, although there's still, obviously, his age is still young, the miles are high, but there's still something left in there, in that jug that he's going to pour out. Enough that he could get a win in this series? Yes, I think so. We talked about that on Monday, that he should be the favorite if he's not already the betting favorite. I think he's a slight betting favorite. I think the youth, the activity, the fact that even though he did get stopped by Topuria and it was brutal, the form that he was leading up to the stoppage, I think, was the perfect extension from the upset Justin Gaethje knockout. It was like, oh yeah, he does still have it for the big fights. Just like Poirier proved he still had it against Makhachev, even though at the time we felt like it was sort of gratuitous, ceremonial. Oh, the old guy's coming off a win and he's a big name and he'll help the pay-per-views. Let's give Islam a little of that rub. No, I mean, Dustin made him earn it. He added to what we love about him. He will be in this fight. He will be a threat to win this fight. I don't think it'll be one-sided domination either way. I think it'll be an absolutely beautiful action fight, but extra onus on beautiful, because this is going to be what we don't get often enough these days. Real Bushido in MMA, not bullshito, not the toxic culture we have in MMA. Like I kind of look back and lament the era of when, okay, this is not, I was going to say when my fandom was the most pure, the most fun time, as I've said ad nauseum, to have covered or been a UFC fan for me was 2014 through 16, the Conor run, right? Of course. But the second place would easily be the period I'm talking about, the late 2000s there into, 2010, where yes, Brock was there, but like, yes, John was rising, but the faces of the game were GSP and Anderson Silva, and they were representing Bushido, brother, right? Now we get a return to that. We get a return to two guys that are beloved, that everybody loves, that are friends, that have history, but it ain't a deal. It ain't a problem. And they're choosing to go into each other here a third time for our entertainment. Hug it up on the way out, no matter what happens, whether we're Rocky 2ing it and we're sending Meg O'Leary to the hospital, not just to interview them there because it's a third gnarly fight, but it might be time for her to give. Right? It might be that time. Okay, Mr. Benavides, get a cigar going. Congratulations. Hold on, Reggie's absolutely killing me. Yeah, I know. I hear you. Come here. All right. So yeah, I could not be happier. This is great. We need all-star game fights once in a while. We need great, fun, gnarly matchups. It's great. All right. Remember when Liddell fought Wanderlei? Remember when, I mean, we need this stuff. Okay. Thank you. Reggie, what do you need, brother? He wants treats. Yeah, well, I did hook him up with treats earlier. He didn't eat them. He's like, I don't want that. Reggie's a weird eater. He's a world-class athlete. Look at him. He's a grazer only. I mean, and if the bowl is empty or low, he will wake you up in the middle of the night crying. And then you go to fill the bowl and he's like, I'm not going to eat any. I just wanted you to do your job. That's basically his attitude in life. He wants what he wants now, but I got to give him a lot of credit. The restraint he has, the other animals in this house, really all of them, you leave out an unlimited amount of food, they're going to eat until they throw up, maybe until they die. Reggie's like, yo, I got stuff to prepare for. All right. Like the stick, Reggie's stick right now, the stick with the long string and it beeps, when you throw it, that's what he's living for right now. I mean, this guy can do like the 720 spin Torian dunk that the N1 guy did that time, right? You know what I'm talking about? He can do that easily at any point. This guy's world class. All right, we lost the plot again. Thank you. Old man Dave, my cat Steven and dog Shatri are both grazers. Wow, Sid Young Tong. Wow, you're a serious MMA fan if you named him Shatri. That's what I'm talking about right there. Yeah, some people in this life have that ability. You know what I mean? It's amazing. All right. That's Carson. We got him good. Alan W. We know what the deal is with Bill and the 24-year-old. We can move on. All right. Oh, that's fair. I mean, that's fair. That's the thing. Alan W. is a supporter of this pod. He's also the pod's ombudsman. He'll call your BS out. Okay. I mean, I think it was worth going around the horn on that though, Al, because this is weird and it's kind of like kinky, but also really gross. And also like, yeah, it's like somebody's 401k is gone. I mean, this could be a Robin Givens, Mike Tyson level plot. Okay. We can see where this goes here. Yeah, there we go. Old man Dave, Sid Young Tong, not a serious MMA fan, but it's a fun name. Yeah. Shout out to Shatri. Man, it's really hard to have a successful MMA promotion if you're not the UFC. Apparently, if you are the UFC too, but that's just my complaints. There we go. All right, Professor Reggie is here. Lazy bed. Yes. I mean, I got a heart for Reggie because he can't get out of his own way. This guy thinks he's the star in the movie, everyone's movie, right? But that thug though. At the end of the night, that he could be Reggie all day, but when it's time, that thug's got a heart. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Speaking of Shatri, says Bival 11. Don't forget that one has a big. Well, who's coming? I feel like I never know what they got coming up, but it's not a card. Is it a card that we care about, or is it like Kickboxing Central, or is it like I care about like Rug and Rod Tang and Stamp, right? But I will say, when I tune into one, I'm usually entertained. I really am. And shout out to those guys. Shout out to Ray Flores. Nice transition into that role. No doubt about it. All right. YouTube user. Wow, very showing us a lot of who you are. I appreciate that. Hey, BC, you say you love Fortnite. Guaranteed fact. Repeatedly. A fact, yeah. You should do a gaming stream with the fans. A boxing or UFC game against the fans would be funny too. Big fan. Thank you, YouTube user. Big fan of you coming in here and supporting me. Okay, first and foremost. Second of all, yes, we have talked about this early on, and there was even a guy who was really nice and organized and was like, yo, I'll run this for you. I'll set it up. He's like, I think we can easily create a scenario, like a Fortnite map has 100 players in it, where all 100 of those are MK donks or BC electrician, X-Men, BC X-Men, maybe. And it sounded great, but I'm like, I don't know how to then record it. This is getting too convoluted for an old guy like me, right? It would be fun though. It would be fun. It would be fun. Like what's the setup where I don't have to know anything or lift a finger and I just show up, turn on the camera and play? Is that the setup we have? You're right. I probably should combine those passions, but some passions are people like to do on their own privately, like Long Island Luke. Oh no, he does it on podcasts too. Love that guy. It's the best. All right. Thank you. Thank you for that. Okay. Hey, Franco, this guy's a pugilist right here. All right. That's what I'm talking about. A boxing broadcaster, aspiring. So Franco says, and thank you for supporting this pod. So what are you, Franco, like a cop or a fireman or one of those two? I know you show up in the the charity events and you put on a good show with a good amateur background, but you told me that you were an announcer on that show this week. So I got to see this. I got to hear your work right there. Did the play-by-play commentary over the weekend. Had a blast. Thanks for the advice. UCA Boxing YouTube. Check them out and let me know what you think. Homework for this week for me. Yes, I'll check that out. UCA Boxing YouTube. Congratulations, by the way, Franco, getting that gig. Just putting on the gloves in general. All right. This man, what balls he has, right? Gets after it. So appreciate that. All right. And play-by-play is not easy. You got to bring it. I'd love to get more play-by-play gigs. It's a great challenge. It's a great challenge compared to being, sort of in the analyst or ringside reporter role mostly. Play-by-play is a amazing challenge. I really like it. I was supposed to do a gig last Sunday. It was going to be in Jersey, a Cornflake Lamana's promotion, but I had to pull out because of we had the college thing, but I'll be back out there. We're going to get it done. All right. Okay. Michael Carson. Thank you, brother. We are in fact closer to seeing BC catch Luke in a choke than ever seeing Jones fight Aspinall. I mean, that is so sad, but true. And the thing is, it's like, I'm only going, like, people say, if you raise your gun, you better be prepared to shoot it. Right. Right. Don't, like if I'm going for it, I'm going for the, tap or nap, bitch, but am I strong enough to be your man? Right. No, to hold that in. Yeah. I think. All right. I'm going to take that, man. People are like, yo, could 100 guys beat a silver belt? I don't care about that. I care about, can I get that choke in? Okay. All right. We're getting closer to that because we ain't getting Jones Aspinall right now. Pay those men their money or just move on. All right. No, never, Jack. Thank you, Tiddlywinks. Never pull out unless she crazy. No, that's really like lame advice, but you know what I'm saying. All right. That's great. Yeah. What should we call our viewers here? The BCX men? BCX viewers call ourselves the Xtacles. Wow. That is well, okay. That is I'm with that. The Xtacles. Wow. Yeah. All right. Devin Tuck, thank you. Do you know anything off the record that's insane? Yeah, I mean, insane's a strong word, but I've certainly collected off the record tidbits, and you have conversations regularly in this business, although I'm not a big time newsbreaker, not a huge big time, industry gossiper calling everybody up, but I'll read, I'll hear the tea. I'll get involved a little bit. And yes, there are some things that either I wish I could report or the risk was worth it in reporting, or or maybe somebody told you in confidence off the record, so it is what it is. That's all part of it. But nothing monstrously earth-shattering that would necessarily change your outlook on combat sports and the powers that be. Yeah, probably. You know what? Actually, it might. But you got to show up in person and either grab a beer with me next to the fire pit, or potentially put me in an abandoned building in a bathtub, bleeding out after you took my whatever related organs still work. So there you go with that one. But one day we'll tell those stories. It'll be wonderful, right? Everyone will lose their jobs. Great. The thing I'll tell you about this. I've never been this big investigative reporter. It's just not necessarily my strength or my lane of expertise or passion to want to do. I've also been more of at least in boxing, the sort of good news, yay, fights, we love fights, let's go guy, rather than the sky is falling guy, or the let's really open up the wounds here and show you how corrupt this sport really is. Because both sports, I will tell you matter of factly, when you start digging, and you Reggie, you need help here? This guy just wants to look out the window and look at the birds, That's all he wants. I mean, that's all, chasing the birds is really been a pastime for a lot of us, right? All right, there you go, Reg. The more you dig, it's not even just to say the grosser it gets, the aggressively grosser and corrupt it gets. But that's the spicy wild game, okay, that we're in right now. All right. Reg, you're killing my shine here, but whatever. Let that light in. All right. Alan W. Let's talk homework, Alan W., right? This guy's already got three assignments for me. Like, what are we doing here, Alan W.? But thank you for the support, as always, of this show. Al Dub forced me to, and I'm glad I checked it out, dude. I caught it on the Peacock app network, if you will. Will you? Wow. And it is a 2010 drama film. Was it in theaters? I don't remember it. Was it straight to the old DVD/streaming? Let's see. I don't know. But it's called The Way. Produced and written by Emilio Estevez, who has a small cameo role, starring his father, Martin Sheen, his real-life father, obviously. A bunch of people you never heard of in supporting roles, but it is this really thought-provoking, take stock of my whole life type of deal, type of film, based upon the idea that Martin Sheen has sort of an estranged relationship with his wandering son, who again is his son in real life, Emilio Estevez. And the premise is the son dies and the father has to go claim, identify the body in Europe and figure out how he wants to, whatever, take it. And it opens up, the lack of relationship that these two ever even had, the holes there, the break apart between them after the mother and the family died. And it leads us inevitably here to the dad going on this pilgrimage that the son had wanted to do, that he was on when he untimely died. And it is a real sort of like, get out of your, all the areas in our lives that we're like unnecessarily holding on to the grudge or the guilt. This really is a thing, because the walk, the hike that this man undertakes reminded me a lot of the Appalachian Trail in the States, and how much that huge walk, whether you're doing it in pieces or whether you're going for it, a through hike, how much it's designed in this, modern computer age of phones trapping us to really be the ultimate, like, I need to figure out my life and take on this incredible challenge that is going to put me in constant uncomfortable situations. This is like the Spain version of that. If that trail wasn't in the woods, it was sort of this pilgrimage walk through all these small villages and mountain towns and old churches. And at first I'm like, yo, Al Dub, what are you getting me into, this like low budget straight to DVD shit? And it's a little cliched of other movies pairing together. What are we doing here? But then at the end of the day, you're like, yo, it's also Martin Sheen and Emilio Estevez. And then it's just the onion starts to get peeled open. And it is one of those where, you could catch a tear at the end, or you could pause it and really look at your inner soul and try to figure out how much their story, their walk, their grief identifies with our own, right? It is it overachieved, this film. It was long as shit too, but it overachieved. It got better as it went on, and I was gripped. And I want to say it moved me. 2010, it moved me. It really did. So feels a little low budget at first, but Martin Sheen acted the shit out of it. I mean, he really did. It gets a decent Rotten Tomatoes grade, 83%. It did hit the theaters, but doesn't look like it took in just over 4 million domestically. So yeah, it was a flop there. It never crossed my paths, but Alan, this was a very, very poignant look at life, relationships, what we are struggling to be or to get. What is that? Are you really chasing in your life what matters, your passions, your goals? Are you really prioritizing relationships and happiness and health? Anytime we're getting into that type of slap in the face of reality, because we tend to follow these program paths of what's acceptable, or what our families aimed for us or wanted for us, or maybe all we've known is getting, a flat tire in life and having to pull over, and it just happens to you all the time. And it can change us. It can harden us. But this movie made me want to go for a really long walk for like 10 miles and not have a phone and really just speak to the inner soul. So good shit right there. There you go. Good stuff, Alan. The doc homework he wants is the Barkley Marathons, Wild Wild Country, and Dear Zachary. It's a lot of shit, Alan. What are we talking about here? What the hell are we talking about, right? I never heard of any of these three. But I feel like Alan's like this. He's an international man of mystery for sure. But I feel like he's trying to pull the strings. He's trying to touch on the heart notes. He knows what'll get the BC to open up on. It's good shit right there. I appreciate that. Old man Dave, what if this whole time it wasn't Poeton's story? Yeah. What if Chuck Mindenhall was wrong and it was really Reggie's? Yeah, Reggie, he is. It's like I said it before, but I'll say it again. I admire him because he's such an a-hole. He doesn't know any other way. He's like, I am the MVP, the star of every situation. He'll just walk into a room and just take it over. And if you don't give him the attention he wants, he'll make you care. I almost respect his commitment to the role, to being such an a-hole. And that thug man, he's soft at the end of the day, but enough of this weirdness. All right, let's go. Let's keep it going. Let's keep it going here. All right. The Barkley Marathons, Wild Wild Country, and Dear Zachary. Do I have to write this down? I guess this is like the washed dude version of book clubs that your wife has. You know what I mean? Maybe I'm just washed. All right. Back to your regularly scheduled ranting here. Here we go. Two Changs. He's in the house. Nevada's finest. Nevada. Nevada. BC, who taking in the backup QB battle? That's an aggressive way to say that. What the hell are you talking about, Two Changs? It seems that you're talking about the Cleveland Browns, the Shedeur Sanders fall from expected first round drafting spot to being a 5th round pick and being the second quarterback taken by the Browns, who now have 5 quarterbacks, which really brings a lot into question. It certainly is a spin-off storyline or I don't debate, or not necessarily conspiratorial, but was race involved, or was it just the league colluding against the way the Sanders carry themselves in the entitlement that they seem to through their peacocking of their star power? Or did it really come down to maybe this guy just isn't perfectly fit for the pros? Or how much did he shoot himself in the foot by not being willing to meet with many teams and by seemingly failing the interviews, which is a big part of this? Although a lot of missteps get forgiven if you're got pure talent. But what if that pure talent has baggage? Baggage comes in different wrapping paper. For the league, it seems like his baggage was too much. So it will be very interesting to see here who's going to end up not only coming out of the QB battle with the 5 names, including Joe Flacco in Cleveland. There's a lot of different names there that they can go to. Where will Sanders fit in there? Will he make the team? You kind of believe they kind of have to, right? But it's certainly going to be a reality TV storyline to watch within organized pro team sports. And I got to be honest with you, even though like in the MK combat sport, or let's say MMA, because like you guys already know my MO. I'm a boxing guy. I'll protect boxing. I'm a boxing true and true. Boxing's my sport. It's my life. It's my passion. MMA is really fun to cover. It's really fun to watch when it's good. But it's also not that serious to me comparatively. We all got our favorites, right? These days, it's hard to get me like really caring about pro sports in ways I used to that I want to. It's not just the way I've thrown myself into combat so aggressively. It's not just that when you get older, your priorities change. And it's certainly not just that in this VOD age, it's really hard to watch anything on someone else's terms and timing, right? Because we're just so used to having everything we want ever one touch away. But I kind of need these, Kobe versus Shaq beef. Do you remember that Christmas Day game when the Heat and Lakers played in like 05, 04, 05? I mean, I remember that, it brought in all the relatives on Christmas Day to be like, oh, Kobe and Shaq today, right? We got to see this. I kind of need some of this sometimes to get hooked back in, because I don't have the gambling connection. I don't have the fantasy connection anymore. And all those years working at ESPN, especially the years I was a front page editor or a nightly digital video newsroom manager, where like the every minute of the sports cycle, like it gets to when you have that level of access, if you're a monstrous sports fan or a major bettor, and then your job not only becomes the coverage of that, but you're at a crack factory for the sports fan, like in ESPN, where, I started there in 05. Remember, the TV had every single channel of live sports being brought in from around the world. The ability to not just watch the NBA package for the first time and the ability to watch everything, it'll wear out your fandom aggressively. So I'm back in on this. It will wear out your fandom or care level for the things that used to get you going. But I'm cheering for him at the end. I'm cheering for him. One, because Deion Sanders is among my two favorite NFL players of all football players of all time. When I was 11 and 12, his show me style was, the ultimate goal of my life, to be so good at something that I could, that I could act like an asshole like that, but do it in style and be slick. You know what I mean? So I've been cheering for the disruption that Deion and by proxy his son has brought to the college game, even though, from my viewpoint, far away, casually looking in, it hasn't always been perfect. But I want this to work. I wanted Johnny football to work. Same situation with the Browns there when he was a first round pick, but we're like, can he make it? Is he going to gamble or eat his way out of here or drink his way out of this job? Well, he just didn't cut it, but it was fun to watch. I'm cheering for Shedeur in this spot to prove people wrong, even if he played a role in sullying his name and not making him a as viable pick. I hope he learns from it, and I hope he can aggressively come back with the FU here. Just my take. It's fun to watch. I like, we like second generation stories too. It's just usually in boxing, the second generation guy is not even close to living up to the dad. It's rare when you have situations where the second generation will exceed. And by the way, man, I just keep seeing amazing interviews with Chris Eubank Sr. talking about the Eubank Ben fight, and specifically talking about the pride he has for his son, calling it a legendary performance, but saying specifically, I've never been more proud of him. And I think I saw a video today where he was telling the story of how he showed up at the fight. And he was claiming that the night before the fight at 8 p.m. was the first time he talked to his son in a while. I don't know how that call was set up or how it happened or whatever, but it led to him coming. And it was great theater, of course, when he came. But to see that father-son breakthrough moment, knowing how volatile they've been, knowing how hard it's always going to be for a second generation athlete with a famous parent to live up or cart off their own niche. And, Eubank's career at 35 had been, pretty good, but underachieving. Yeah. Mercurial. Yeah. now to see dad have that level of pride, like, son, you've made it. I mean, that's why that fight was so crazy. It meant so much more than it should have to each of them, but also in the impact of their performances. And I know some Brit fans took issue with that and said, BC, we hate Conor Benn. We hate him even more now. Like, this isn't going to change that. But like, long term, he's going to get that same respect George Groves gets for being in that Frotch series, even though Groves was already a champion and respectable fighter and had a very good career. He's goated and knighted in UK lore, isn't he? Forever for being a part of that. You know, Eubank Jr., he carved it out. He carved out something here, something special. Let's hope they fight again. I mean, Turkey wants to do it this fall in the same stadium in September. I saw Conor Benn called out, or saw Ryan Garcia asked a question Monday what he thought of the fight. He says, look, I'd love to fight Conor Benn after I get through this. The problem, of course, is Ryguy's got a lot. They've almost put not just the cart before the horse. They put a lot of carts, meaning that Ryan's favored big to beat Rolly on Friday. The goal is they already signed a contract for him to fight Haney in a rematch in the fall. Then he's saying he wants to fight Teofimo after that. He's also been saying he wants to fight Boots in 26. And now he's like, yo, I will fight Ben like in a stadium real soon. And then Conor Benn came out and responded and was like, yeah, man, let's do that. Let's do that. So I wonder if that would enter into the conversation or alter the plans, because Ben fought the Eubank fight, of course, at 160, but is more of a 147. And even if they did it at 54, I think Ryan would be fine at 54 against some of these smaller guys. That'd be a hilarious, whether you do it at a catchweight 47, 54, that'd be a great fight. And it would be a great chance for Ben and Eubank, for in this case, Ben, to capitalize on the fame and the rush and the push they're going to get from that performance against one another. I think there's a lot of money to be made for both of them, not just in a second fight, but like, don't you think Canelo, who really doesn't want to fight Benavidez, doesn't seem like he wants to fight Beterbiev, would obviously want the rematch with Bivol and thinks he can win it running it back, and the stakes would be higher if they did it for the full 175 4-belt crown. But he wants easy-ish fights. He wants Munguia, Berlanga level fights. I think on paper, you know, Eubank's kind of the perfect fight for him in a lot of ways. And I would want Eubank to get that payday. I wouldn't want it to hold up what we're already not getting in this sport, but I don't think we're getting Canelo benefit. I mean, Turkey's involved and we're still not getting it. That shows you that Canelo's like, no, I'm not fighting this guy. I no longer believe he's waiting him out or trying to get him too big and then forcing him to come back. I think Canelo's just like, I'm not down for that beating I'm going to have to take to win it. And it's not that he's afraid of that, but I mean, he's a smart businessman. But this is a stain. Saul, it's a freaking stain, all right? I can't do it. I can't do it anymore. Bivol, I don't like Garcia, meaning Rye Guy, but I have to admit, the kid will fight anybody. You got to appreciate that. Dude, you got to love that. And, you know, and I know like a guy like Luke Thomas would be like F Ryan forever. And, dude, last year was a toxic dumpster fire from Ryan in every possible way. There's not a thing you could identify with that he didn't insult toxically, or just the way he carried himself in general was abrasive and rough to see. But I've been talking up that I think that he's going to enter a really, really big portion of his career, and not just big because he's always going to be in big fights, and you have to give him that respect. The guy just wants banger after banger, and he is setting a template for the new temperature of the young American fighter who seem to all want the damn smoke. Keyshawn Davis wants Tank right now. Shushu wants Fulton. Who's the other guy? Abdullah Mason's like, yo, I'm ready to fight for a title now. These people want it now. I love this. This is Leonard Hearns, Duran, who am I forgetting? The Hagler, sorry. Four Kings. Yeah, BC. You ever heard of them? It's that type of 80s shit. So, I thought Ryan would be in really big fights, bang, 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 back to back, because he loves the attention. He loves the money. But I think even more than the money, the dude loves the rush and thrill of doing this at a very high level. And he got to watch, not only has he been a part of super big ones in smaller arenas like the Tank pay-per-view and all the buzz that came in with that Haney fight at Barclays, but now he's seeing what that UK stadium feel is. And that's why it sucks. Dana White was in the crowd at the first night of WrestleMania, And a lot of people asked him the next time he did a UFC press conference, like, did that experience change your opinion of doing a dome or a, stadium fight? And he's like, no, I still don't want to do it. You can't control this or that, blah, blah, blah. It's like, Dana, get out of your own way. Get out of your own elite extreme production control level, which, by the way, is impressive. I worked on a Dana White produced boxing show in Dublin. Like, they're great at what they do. I'm not saying dumb it down, but like, lessen the priority, because what you would create around you with the right fight, if you finally put a big UFC fight in a stadium, kind of like the fight that was in the stadium in Australia when Rousey Holm broke all those records, just like in the damn Sky Dome when GSP was there fighting, what was it, Condit, and they had all that crowd there. It becomes an experience. It becomes a something you'll never forget. The atmosphere in these Anthony Joshua soccer stadiums, in Ben Eubank, guys want to be a part of that. They should have that opportunity. I really wish, obviously, that whether it's Elia versus Islam or Jones Aspinall, like, put the shit like that, fights that truly, truly, truly matter. If Conor decides to come back in the next year against a really big name where you're like, damn, that's kind of interesting, put that in a stadium. You saw Conor tweeting that recently, of saying, I'll only come back and fight Chandler if it's in a stadium. Hold on, Reggie's killing me again, as he just opened it from the inside out. He can do that. He can definitely do that. All right?
You just touch gloves. Why do you need to touch the gloves again? You just touch gloves.
I should probably just get a long stick where I can just close it from there. That'd be great. But that's like, what are the pillars of making boxing healthy in any era? The best need to fight the best. We kind of have that right now. 2, the general public needs access to the big fights. We do not have that right now. Even though, led by Al Heyman back in 2015, like, boxing had made a comeback for a while to network TV, we kind of lost that position, right? You know what I mean? Even ESPN pushed almost all of their big fights to the Plus or pay-per-view, although that we did get that pandemic classic of Teo versus Loma non-pay-per-view, which was awesome. But like, that kind of thing has gone away. Also, streaming has changed things and changed the importance of it. But the other pillar of making a great boxing era, in my opinion, is it's a spinoff of the best fight the best, but it's under the guise of fight the best, seek the best while you are in your absolute prime, or even before then, right? Like, when Leonard fought Hearns, they were like 22. You know what I mean? Like that's the natural flow and rhythm of things. Now, those eras where people dare to be great and fight everybody, it brings shorter shelf lives, it brings more damage, all that, of course. But if everything's cyclical, I love the return, at least, of that spirit in some big names and all these new young guys. And obviously in the other countries, it seems to kind of automatically be there. We don't say that about the Ukrainian or Russian or Kazakh fighters, that they want tune-ups or need to duck anybody. I mean, there's a lot of nations around the world where people are like, we're about that life right now. It's great to see, though, coming off of the Mayweather era, where that spirit is back. And again, it's like, shout out to that spirit when it's self-protective in the right ways, meaning there are a lot of guys who watch the heroes of the 70s, 80s, and 90s grow up now and can barely speak, you know what I mean? Or can barely, like, whatever, like, there's a price to pay for here. So the idea of becoming a smarter businessman in a sport with a long history of promoters taking advantage of fighters, like, it's great that you smarten up to that degree. But we've gone too far in the idea that the big stars only fight 2 times a year, if that sometimes, right? And we've gone too far in that direction. Let's bring it back where you're going to respect people like Ragai and all these other young guys that are like, yeah, man. I mean, Teo wants all the smoke. He wants to move up in weight and chase smoke at 54, even though he's a 140 champion right now. Like, I love this. So it is actually, even with some of the misgivings we have about the future of not only the Turkey TKO union, but the way Turkey has operated since coming on the scene, even with those misgivings, you gotta shout out when it's working. Maybe right now, guys like Ryan being associated with Turkey is the best thing possible to fans, because we know Turkey's matchmaking style is not traditional boxing. It's more like super fan video game fantasy football style. sometimes to the detriment of the fighters in the larger storyline, but sometimes there's just that impulse of that fight was great, now we need it again, or we need this fight. This is the young group where it's like, whether we're talking Ryan, whether we're talking Teo, I'd love for them to be in banger after banger after banger for the next 2 to 3 years. And again, maybe it shortens the longer shelf life of when they can stay on Super Elite, but they are going to make a lot of money, become massive stars, and hopefully raise the sport along with them. How do you get what's the last remaining pillar of rebooting a boxing era or having a strong boxing era? It's all of that I said. Plus, you have to have stars, but the casual general public has to have access to the stars. So something's got to change with this model. And I hope it changes in a direction where maybe Netflix is the answer, the direction of how do we get the casuals? How do we get the casuals to realize that we have crossover super fans here? I mean, to some degree, boxing has done a decent job of that, even with the restrictions like pay-per-view or a niche app like the DAZN, a streaming app that really only boxing fans have in the States. I guess to a certain degree, it has woken up certain casual audiences, like the Ryan versus Haney fight, or like some of the big heavyweight fights involving Fury and Usyk in recent years. I mean, even the Better BF Bivol series, I thought, kind of crossed deeper into pockets of MMA fandom and other areas that I was shocked and impressed by too. But it would be great if there was some way Turkey can take that money and put one of these cards or one of these young superstars in a huge fight that everybody could access. That would be where I would take back a lot of the criticism and go, okay, not there is a lot to not like here. And really every promoter, there's a lot not like. The more you pull away the layers or dig up behind underneath the stones, and you find out the truth in the dirt there. But at the same time, if you're making decisions that are also bolstering and lifting the sport, and you're taking great care of the fighters, and that's obviously the fare we have long-term with TKO, that they won't. But as long as you're doing that, we will forgive a lot of BS in this game. We will forgive a lot of it. I want to see the sport elevated. I really do. As much as we get so annoyed when a super big crossover fight happens and we got to hear Stephen A. Smith breaking it down, or who, or whatever your podcast is, will actually mention it. And if it's a non-combat thing, those opinions suck. But it's great when life-changing fights happen. That's why they are life-changing. They're life-changing, not just for the competitors financially and physically, but they breed epic fights, breed so many new fans. And even if the epic fights of the late 70s and early 80s they didn't have pay-per-view yet, but they had closed circuit. So the first time anyone's going to see it, you'd have to go to your local movie theater and buy a ticket, which probably was a cool experience. The amount of times that would be replayed on regular free television were out of control. Why am I a boxing fan? Born in 1978. The Rocky movie series, yes. But the fact that Hagler Hearns was replayed on regular TV all the damn time. The fact that Ali's entire career was, in retrospect, was shown almost every day after school on ESPN. After AWA wrestling, there'd be a block of like random awesome Ali fights or young Ray Leonard or whatever. So the access to the drug, to the entry point, those gates have closed, but we got to open them back up. But as Brody's about to tell me, there's a price. BC, I don't want boxing to go mainstream like UFC and WWE. Boxing is cool because there's an underground fee. I do largely agree with you on that. There is that price to pay that goes beyond having Stephen A. Smith talk too much about your favorite sport when these things go to crossover and they become watered down. I mean, yes, it's got to be tough if you're a hardcore UFC fan to see what's going on. And then if you are also a WWE fan and to see the TKO influence on there, it's got to make you nervous about not only boxing being controlled by Turkey/TKO, if the interests of the fighters and the sport in general is not, put in a priority position, but also the whole idea of, is it not cool anymore? There's part of the boxing fan, the survivalist, the one, and again, you're either an extreme optimist like I try to be in boxing, or you're an extreme critical pessimist because you're like, it's hell, it's always hell, let's just live in this puddle together. Either way, you have to admit that the things that you hate about it, the disorganization, the Wild West bullshit, is also still to this day some of the catnip that keeps you here. You know, it's like, man, that bar down the street is an absolute shithole, and I can get my ass kicked, and the food's bad, and the drinks are overpriced and watered down. But there's an energy and vibe there that, like, you know, I gotta feel. I mean, you know, it is what it is. Hold on, one more time on the reg. It's like, what are we doing here? What's happening? All right, thank you.
Jim, I gotta tell you something. Are these guys Russian or are they just in a hurry?
4 rounds to 3. Era Slandy Lara. Jim, I gotta tell you something. Okay, yeah. Shout out to Harold. All right. Let's do it. Let's hit it. Oh, wow. Remix coming in hot, coming in hard in the paint with it. You got the orange color to bounce up there, right? Let's go. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. What NBA team / player did you hate? Mine is the old ass 2010 Spurs. I can understand this with balding Ginobili, boring Duncan, and Frenchie Parker. Parker's, he's always been tough. Even though I respect his game, he's always been tough to cheer for in that regard. They made me root for the Heat. Ray Allen, corner 3, game 6, saved my soul. That was it's one of the most clutch shots in the history of the sport. I just saw episode 8, by the way, of that fantastic Celtic City Bill Simmons documentary on HBO Max that I've been talking about. Granted, I'm a huge Celtics fan, but I'm glad that they covered that part of the history so aggressively when Ray Allen, that turncoat, when Ray Allen did that Benedict Arnold BS and goes to the Heat and then wins a championship for them in the first year, literally saves them with that 3-pointer. I mean, one of the most insane shots of all time. But it's a great question. I have not liked a lot of circles of players, teams, or eras, you know, based on they're not my type of guy. They're too smug. They're jerks. I mean, I hated Kobe his whole career, right? I'm a Celtics fan. The Celtics played Kobe in the finals twice. I blamed Kobe in the Shaq and Kobe divorce, which, you know, coincided around the time of the Colorado mishap, which coincided with Kobe, tell me how my ass tastes, right? Like I was team Shaq. I think Shaq got robbed for the MVP in 05, his first year with the Heat. What was that? Who won it that year? It's not a Duncan year. Nowitzki won it in what? 7. Oh, that's a Steve Nash year, isn't it? It's a Steve freaking Nash year. Yeah. Shaq got robbed that year. But historically, in my run of fandom, my absolute least favorite players have been Reggie Miller, without question. Just respect, but hate. But come on, you know, guys. I mean, come on. You know, I never really hated the Showtime Lakers, even though that's sort of the rivalry with the Celtics, my Celtics, that got me into it. It was, I mean, maybe it's because Magic and Bird loved and respected each other so much, and it came through. For certain periods, Isaiah Thomas and Lane Bear were the devil, right? Like if you're a Celtics fan in the late 80s or a Bulls fan in the late 80s, early 90s, you understand why. I mean, he's grimy, man. I mean, he's a survivor. He's great. I mean, Isaiah's one of the great, not what ifs, but it's like if he wasn't, I guess what ifs. If he wasn't, he's already one of the greatest point guards of all time. And even if you saw his championship career, you know, the back-to-back titles in 89 and 90 with the bad boy Pistons, you still might not realize how even better he was in the mid 80s when the Pistons were not as good and he was just scoring so much to carry them in big games. And he was clutch. He was tough as shit. And if he wasn't 6'1", if he was like 6'5", like he might be in in the conversation of like the 5 greatest players of all time. Like I really mean that. I really say that with meaning. Okay. The guy was absolutely amazing, but him, Mahorn, Lane Beer, come on, hate them, but not as much as I hated Stockton and Malone. Like they're just a-holes, right? They're just stiff, stern, stubborn country boys that were just like, and they play dirty, and, you know, Jerry Sloan's smoking cigarettes, you know, and just that hard-nosed style. Like I respect it. I really respect that the 2 years on top that the Jazz had there, coming up so, you know, just barely in 2 6-game series in the finals with the Bulls. Certainly was cheering for the Bulls because you had to hate Utah. But man, I hated those guys. I hated Hornacek. I hated Ostertag. I like Greg Foster and Adam Keefe. They were kind of cool off the bench. And of course, the rotating small forwards that they would have through the years were always fun to watch, from David Benoit to Brian Russell to Shandon Anderson and Blue Edwards. Shout out to that guy. But I hate all those guys too. Thank you. Ewing's okay. Hated him at times. He's fine. I guess I got to put Kobe. Oh, Kareem. Yeah, F Kareem. Even though I like most of those Showtime Lakers. F old Kareem. F Lane Beer and Thomas. F Stockton and Malone. And Kobe. RIP. Hashtag girl dad. There you go. Thank you, Remix. Great question. I know everyone hated Duke. I was a Georgetown fan, but I liked Duke because the game that made me a college basketball fan was the Final 8 game in the '89 tournament of freshman Leitner and Duke against freshman Morning and Georgetown. I ended up choosing the Georgetown path of fandom. Also had a lot of anti-UConn in me for a Connecticut guy. But I never hated Leitner. I understand people hating JJ Redick. F that guy. But no, I take that back. I did hate Leitner in '92. Even though I was silently cheering for the Bulls. But I've come around to respect Christian Leitner. But I can't argue that Duke has produced a lot of guys that would fit perfectly in this hate conversation as well. There's no question about it. All right. Thank you. Brantendo, you heard the rumors about Francis Ngannou's so sad. Yeah, I haven't seen a major outlet confirm this, but the rumors surround the idea that Francis was in a motorcycle accident and hit a person and that person perished. I did not read or research extensively to find out A, more details, or B, if it's fully true. I hope some confirmation or update on that comes out, but obviously you hope not just for the loss of life, but the fact that, Francis just lost his son too, but it's a rough scenario. It's hard to know with the details of like who was at fault, what's the situation, all of that. I just want to see Francis compete though, whether it's boxing or MMA. I mean, PFL gave him the world, and it's not like he's given them much back, but he also sort of set himself up to not have to. And I don't begrudge him for taking the money in boxing. I almost just wish for PFL, even though PFL is laughable at this point, we can all turn the blame on Don, and it's probably deserved in a lot of ways. It's not like I wanted to see them fail. I wanted another Strikeforce. I wanted Francis to be must-see TV, and I would have liked that he had fought 5 or 6 times where I felt that they should have just, I've said a million times, ditch the tournament and just every 3 months, Francis is going to defend against the next guy up in the rankings. But they don't do rankings. They don't do it the right way. And I like Francis a lot. I hope for good for him in this case. I hope everything's okay. We'll find out. Maybe. Old man Dave, I hated everything Timberwolves. Yeah, and not going to understand hating the T-Wolves version of Leitner, who was a prick, was so used to winning in high school and at Duke that had a lot of problems playing on a crap, recently expansion team that didn't know how to win and wasn't equipped to. I guess I respect Leitner because I thought it was a very impressive turn he made on the Hawks. Now he gets traded to there at the end of the 96 season. And even though he was steady and solid with the Timberwolves, he hadn't reached the all-star level. And you could make the argument that he was an underachiever, not a bust, but an underachiever to some degree based on the hype coming in. Remember, he had gotten the final dream team slot in 92 as the only college guy. And it screwed over Shaquille O'Neal, who was more deserving if they would have gone that direction, even though Leitner was player of the year and won back-to-back championships. Like Shaq was the guy for that. But not in 96, when he played center for an undersized playoff Hawks team against Shaq and his last year in Orlando, and arguably their best team. I know that's hard to say because the 95 team the year before went to the finals and got swept by the Rockets, whereas the 96 team got straight up swept by the 72 win, let's prove a point, Jordan Bulls. But that 96 Magic team was awesome. And to see the way that Leitner sold out in that playoff series for the Hawks physically, going against Shaq in such a undesirable spot for him as more of a, I mean, Leitner was more small forward playing a poor man's Larry Bird than he was ever a 5. But that mixed with the year that he had in 97 when he made the all-star team, surprisingly, right? With Mutombo next to him And I really thought that was a really sneaky good Hawks team with Blaylock and Steve Smith. And ultimately, though, Leitner's career, especially after that couple years with the Hawks, it fell down quickly. His time with the Pistons was a forgettable mess. And Jordan tried to resurrect him on the Wizards as a key role player, and he was okay, but he was old and too passive. But he was a man with the Hawks, right? The same respect I have for Vlade Divac, who was a man with the Hornets for those couple years in between before going to Sacramento. All right, there we go. Oh, Bong Island Luke in the house. Shout out to him. Shout out to that guy. J Ray B02. Thank you. Thank you, sir. All right. J Ray says, I'm stoned as an MFer and pulled up at work on an off day to fire somebody. Wow, that's rough, brother. I'm glad I run a pizza place so I can make myself some food on my way out. J Ray BO, we're going to make some pilgrimages here. Where is the pizza place located and what is it called? Now, you're going to risk, if you tell us what it's called, all of these good fellas out here crank calling you and ordering a lot of that. But I want to tell you, we want to support this. I want to taste your pie, J Ray. Can I walk that back? You know what I mean? Can I walk that back? But sorry you had to fire that MFer. Keep your head up, J Ray. Get after it. All right. Let's find out where this joint is, please. Text from my wife. I just saved your cat from having a broken neck! Exclamation point. He's okay, but shaken up. That's definitely my life right there. All right. Thank you. Max is my cat. Wow, great name. Great name. I mean, this is a spot where old guys with cats can unite. Favorite John Mayer track or album? Great question. I think John Mayer has a very underrated catalog in totality. From the radio friendly Your Body is a Wonderland Daughters run, right? Where it got a little too, through the live blues album Try, through I think the best work of his career, that middle stretch of records that doesn't really get enough respect because I think people were kind of tired of him at that point and weren't willing to accept a turn into more introspective singer-songwriter, slowly changing the vibe of his music. But favorite track, Born and Raised, off of the Born and Raised album. That was a wake-up call to me that John had a different angle and lane. And I'm not going to say all the albums that followed during this stretch were all 5-star killer, but I think they deserve more respect than they get, is what I'm trying to say. And I've been pleasantly surprised along the way each time I do give another John Mayer record a chance or album that I hadn't heard here. Let me call up quickly the discography. So Room for Squares, the big debut in 01, Heavier Things in 03, Continuum, a little underrated in 06. I haven't listened to Battle Studies in 09, but Born and Raised 2012, Paradise Valley the next year, 2013, really underrated record. And then I'd never messed with The Search for Everything, but I came back to him on Sob Rock in 2021, post-pandemic, because that was, the coolest pivot he could have ever made at that point in his career, which is to essentially replace Jerry Garcia in with the Dead and take Dead and Company to a whole new level with some of the other band changes they've made with Jeff on keyboards, with Oteil on bass. And, it took a couple of years even for Mayer to find his groove with Deadco, to figure, I thought for a while it was like he was trying to play to Dead fans too much as a Jerry greatest hitter. And then once he finally became free and it was instituting his own form of jazz into that, it was great stuff. It really was. And I think you saw the full man come full bloom as a guitarist. The relent I have, relent, how about lament? The lament I have is that in Dead and Company, they almost broke up or almost ended the run a bunch of times, right? But like the Sphere gave them new life, and then they had such a good run at the Sphere, they had another run at the Sphere. So they're kind of still together, but they're still a greatest hits group with the same core tracks. Obviously, you're getting a different taste of it with some of the same original members, but you're getting a different taste of it. But I'd love, even though I don't usually want this from bands late in their career, like real late in their careers, or reunited bands. I'm not normally excited for a new album of new original music. I'm like, play me the hits. If I'm going to see you in concert, I'm just happy that you can still play it, reinterpret the old classics for me. Let's go. But no, considering the talent there with John Mayer, with Bob Weir as a co-songwriter, with O'Teal, with, like considering all that there, I really wish they would have done an original record. I really do. I would have loved to see how, especially if they gave John the reins and were like, okay, you're running the band, the direction here artistically, let's go. I would have loved it because, some of the Bob Weir, like when Bob Weir came back with that solo record in the past 10 years, I have it on vinyl. It was deep, introspective folk, country rock, like just areas where I didn't think it was coming. It was Blue Mountain from 2016, the double Bob Weir solo album. Americana music. I really feel like knowing that Bob was putting out that work solo on his own with a help from a co-songwriter that he hired or that he liked working with. If they had pulled their forces together and we got that music out of them and with John's influence in there, it would have been very interesting. So I love Sob Rock. I don't think it holds up. I think it was a perfect post-pandemic like tribute to early 80s music that John Mayer put out. I still have a heart for it, but it's very sugary. It's very, you know what I mean? I do think there's some brilliant instrumentation in there, the vibe, the mood that they've set there. That was very intentional by Mayer on this record, but I'm not sure it holds up great. My favorite Mayer record, still got a lot of love for the first one, Room for Squares, but I think it might be Paradise Valley in 2013. I love Born and Raised. That is the sweet spot of where I think the best of John Mayer comes from. Thank you. All right, there we go. There's a kind of big conversation going on in the chat. Big time one. There we go. Gotta find out. Did we find out about that pizza place yet? Did we, J Ray? I mean, we got to do a live ramble from the pizza place. All right. There we go. I'm looking back. He said Dayton, Ohio. Are you talking about this guy, J Ray? Is that what we're talking about right here? We'll have to find out. I don't go to Ohio much, but will I for J Ray's pie? Possible. Let's hear from Lazy Bed. We love this guy a lot from Middle America. I'm 100% grade A grass-fed Ohio man meat. All right. There we go. Ohio, though, put out some tough MFers, some tough white guys too. But obviously the boxing tradition in Ohio, whether you're talking about like the Kelly Pavliks, the Ray Mancinis of Youngstown, or you're talking, the great stars in recent years from Sean Porter, Adrian Broner, all the young guys that are coming out of Cleveland, Cincinnati, man, Ohio's got an absolutely legitimate reputation to this day. Okay, Reggie, you are killing me over there. He survived, though. He survived the situation. My wife saved Reggie a few times. Just wild stories. This guy he'll get caught up in anything. YouTube user, have you seen Joe's Apartment? Who's Joe? Is that a show? Is that a movie? Is that what am I looking at here? The 1996 film. Let's see. Oh, I remember this. Did I ever actually watch it? So it's Jerry O'Connell. It's a musical. So no, I have never watched this. I remember. So that's a 1996 American musical black comedy called Joe's Apartment. It was the first MTV Films production. That's why I know it from the endless commercials they had. I don't believe I've ever seen it, but it could be one of those things where it'll bring it back. Let me give that a run and I'll get back to you on there. Thank you, YouTube user. Good stuff right there. Devin, tuck that in. All right. Thoughts on Luis J. Gomez? Very minimal. Hold on, they're blowing me up here. Very minimal exposure. Seems okay, but I don't know enough of the catalog. I've really haven't been on the comedy circuit specials who's killing it, who's slaying it live. You know, I see the celebrity roast like everybody once in a while, which kind of gives you an all-star game feel of who's up, who's on top. You know, I follow the TFAC Reddit page. You know what I'm saying? Which you know, lampoons a lot of comics, but no, I don't go deep on Gomez. All right, and I'm not a Burnt Chrysler fan. Thank you very much. Mikey loves that guy. Loves that guy. Well, people are blowing me the hell up. All right. Here we go. Allen W. Post Ben Eubanks thoughts on Ben at 147 now. So we hit a couple of that, but if he can make it, you got to go to 47. I mean, that's where his best, the wins that actually matter on his resume up to this point. And to be fair, we've known about him a long time, and he's 28, and he really has not had the kind of truly defining fights that probably would have made him a bigger star by this point. Obviously, the fallout of the drug test failure in 22 when he's supposed to fight Eubank was a big part of that. But really, in theory, you know, even back then in 22, he was a welterweight that was going to move up 2 divisions to fight Eubank. Like, it's crazy. But what he did to the level of a very old Chris Algieri, a Chris Van Eerden, you know, guys on that level, that the gatekeepers that you have to pass on the way up, he looked very good. Obviously, that was during a time where people assume that he was on the peds. I assume everybody's on the peds. Okay. I will applaud the shape that both guys came in for this fight, Eubank Ben. Obviously the will and the performance with what they showed, but do you see the shape Eubank was in? Like, he's never even been remotely that fit before. I mean, that guy went all in. Ben too, with that said. But yeah, Ben's a suddenly really fun and interesting player at 47. Whether that's the type of more fun, just go for it fights like a Ryan Garcia, Teofimo, obviously go up to the title level and try to fight a unified champion in boots would be absolutely fantastic. I'm happy for Ben because I do think, love him or hate him, and probably more likely dislike him because he can be abrasive and brash and quasi toxic at times, but he understands stardom and is ready and has been ready since day one. Like, I want to see that guy get his chance to be in super big fights. And if he's willing to behave in the fight like he behaved in this Eubank one, and I don't need fight to the death, blood and guts every time. This was a sort of purposeful dip into that category for him. And I think it was beautiful and it worked. Even in defeat, you want to talk about moral victories. Good Lord, this is a monster one. So yeah, I think he's a player. You can't have that same style that he had against Eubank, which was a lot of head movement and then load up on massive shots. I need more volume, but I think it's a different ball game at 47 where he can, but he's never been the purest of pure boxers. I think his strength is his athleticism and his explosive right hand, but I'd like to see combination punching out of this guy. He's got balls. He'll talk. He'll be crazy leading up to a fight. Yeah, let's get him in really big ones. I'm kind of unsure what I want regarding the rematch. Oh yeah, I want it, but I'm like, is Turkey rushing it back too soon? We kind of had. It's the whole debate. Do you want your classic rivalries or trilogies to be bang, 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 like Gotti Ward was, like Marquez Vasquez was, the first 3? Or is it better when there's time in between or when they move up in weight, like Pacquiao and Marquez, and the storyline just keeps changing? Given how violent and how much they took out of each other in that first one, I'd almost rather each guy go in a different direction for 1 to 2 fights and try to cash in and then meet when it makes a little more sense. But you also can take advantage of what's in front of you, and that would be another sell out of the house at a massive stadium like Tottenham Hotspurs and in London or Hotspur. People get mad if I, F it up, but I mean, it's soccer. What are we doing here, right? Yeah. Go American toxic male. Yeah, all right. Think we watch the MLS in this country? No. All right. I am rocking ham sandwich on just plain AG1 right now. A little bit of that afternoon coffee. Okay. I got the water here with the hydration packet. I've got non-hydrated water right there. I'm ready to go here. Okay. This is pure passion. It's a passion play right here. We don't need the 8th row. Yeah, we do. All right. Harmon Sarai. Yeah. Drink. Yeah, AG1, you know, I'm not lying. I love the taste. I love the taste. All right. I wish I was still with them. I do. I had a good time with those people. Not like I talked to them at all, but they sent me a lot of product through the years. All right. Had a great run with this here AG1. All right. All good things have to come to an end, apparently. All right. Do we figure out where this guy is? Is it Dayton? I don't know much about Dayton, Ohio. But I do know Youngstown as those ham sandwich. Yeah, Kelly Pavlik, dude was a scrapper. I don't feel like I should have to say this to this group, but if you have not seen the first Kelly Pavlik Jermaine Taylor fight, stop everything and watch it right now. Thank you, Double S, the late Hall of Fame referee Steve Smoger, arguably the greatest action fight referee in the history of the sport. The guy you would want when two warriors get in there against one another, because he's going to let them fight. He's going to let them fight. Not to the death, but he's going to get close. He's going to let them fight. His ability to know when to ease off or know, you know, it's like a soloing guitarist. His ability to know, no, let's see if Pavlik can beat the count here. Like, his ability, it has helped many great fights. Definitely that one. I got a lot of love for Kelly Pavlik. I still, the word of the day, lament that he kind of effed up his career. They kind of gave it away right when he was at his peak. The drinking became too much. He was having trouble making weight. The Hopkins loss was humbling to where he was, as was the middleweight title loss to Sergio Martinez, which it's not a great fight, but it had big stakes. It was in Atlantic City. Like, that was a pretty damn good fight. Martinez got off the canvas. Pavlik was bloodied. Like, that was and you know, Pavlik fought not heroically. He fought admirable for what he had in the tank in that fight, which in hindsight was not the best of him. And, you know, I don't know how much we saw the best of him after that absolutely awesome breakthrough 2007 from him. You know, he had a couple of title defenses where he made some money, but it was always tough that it fell apart so quickly for him and then never put it back together. Did, though, get into boxing podcasting, which was fun. He got into powerlifting. He's jacked. I've seen him at fights. I've interviewed him. Salt of the earth guy. Great guy. Great guy. All right. Lazybed says, Bevaw, check out the Springsteen song Youngstown too. Yeah, damn right. Damn right. Do that. There you go. But, you know, Bevaw will tell you Youngstown is a boom boom town. All right. All right. Somebody get Mark Kriegel on the line. We're talking fathers right here. All right. Shout out to Mark Kriegel's guy, Ed O'Neill, Al Bundy. Yeah. People forget that on Fox Sports Regional in the 2000s, Mark Kriegel had that kind of cool interview show where he would go out to dinner with Al Bundy and a famous athlete of the moment. And sometimes like John Sally would be there, and they'd have a big Italian dinner and drink and talk. Remember that episode Dana White was on? Like, that was some fun shit back in the day. I know Mark Kriegel now is the We Love You Daddy guy, but and the guy loves father-son stories. Freaking loves it. All right. I mean, who doesn't? Who doesn't? Okay. Run them cheeks in the house. Yeah, Joe, that's what I'm saying. Thank you for your support. Thank you for showing up today. Hey, BC, what is your least favorite movie soundtrack? So movie soundtracks are tough. Like, I definitely bought a ton on cassette. There are times it was rare for me, but there was times where like the music in a movie was so great that I'm like, holy crap, I am getting that soundtrack, and I'm getting it now. I remember seeing Forrest Gump the first showing on a Friday, and then scheduling to see it again on Saturday and stopping at the mall record store, you know, and getting the soundtrack on double CD, which was awesome. So I got a lot of love for some great movie soundtracks, whether we're talking about Juice, whether we're talking about Dazed and Confused. That's a double album right there. But sometimes I think there's an argument too. What really makes a soundtrack? Is it just a collection of songs that were in the movie that are already popular? Or what about the times when somebody makes a specific soundtrack for a movie, like Prince with the Batman soundtrack? Or, you know, when songs are created directly for that fit the story arc and the feel. Like, there's like the Into the Wild. God, the Into the Wild soundtrack by Eddie Vedder is in this conversation for best. But Joe didn't run them cheeks to ask me which one was the best. He asked me what's my least favorite one. I'm going to say Dirty Dancing. I mean, that the amount of times if you were between the ages of 8 and 15 in the 80s that you would have seen in white suburban America Dirty Dancing, because it instantly was your mom and your sister's favorite movie ever, and your dad bought the damn soundtrack, and your cousins love it and sing every song at full blast volume at all times, and you end up seeing that movie 50 times. Yeah, there's still that like cringe, even though I've come around on some of those songs, time of my life, it's like sometimes it's a banger when no one's looking. No, like that's God, that movie sucked. Yeah, that soundtrack is just cringe inducing for me. It really is. It really is. Thank you. Thank you for pulling that memory out of me. All right. Oh, there we go. They weren't updating. Yeah, I'm still learning how to do this. You know what I mean? Okay, Hungry Eyes does bang. Hungry Eyes does. I mean, that's the problem. Like when you come around as a more mature music fan, like the 23-year-old me would never accept that Fleetwood Mac's Rumors was, one of the best albums of all time. I remember I used to make fun of the fact that every married man had Rumors in their CD or vinyl collection, and they used to be like, my Uncle Dave used to be like, yeah, you'll find out. You'll find out that it's actually killer. It's actually one of the best. And then it was. Hungry Eyes has sort of that feeling where I'm like, damn, that song was kind of good, but it just reminds me of having to watch that movie so many freaking times. Like, come on. All right, Beval, what do you got for me? My late mother loved Dirty Dancing, but I still have PTSD. Then you know exactly what I'm speaking to right now. Okay. I mean, was Swayze the ultimate guy in that movie, or what did you just want to, by the end of it? I mean, come on. Thank you. All right. Nocita. He's here. Luke Nocita of the Main Card Man. I love that guy of MK fame, right? That guy gets recognized in the wild for MK fame. I'm sure, probably like in the men's room at Cumberland Farms. You know what I mean? Yeah. BC, which boxing bout this weekend are you the most hyped for? Great question. Like in theory, we got 5 big bouts, right? The triple header on Friday, the Canelo fight, and the Inoue fight. For me, while it's not the best fight of those 5, the Ryan Garcia-Rolly Romero fight is what I'm most intrigued. That will answer. Will it really answer the most questions? I mean, it'll answer a lot of questions. Like, I think Ryan's going to come back and look freaking awesome. And really, most versions of him probably would against Rolly. Although, not only do I love Rolly, not only do I think he makes really fun and weird fights, but I am a little intrigued, not just by the puncher's chance of Rolly, but what he said about how hard of a weight cut it was for him at 35 and 40, and that there's no chance he should have been there, and it completely diminished him. I know everyone says that. I know you can look at it as an excuse, but I'm wondering if we see a more durable, because the durability that Rolly had against Pitbull was non-existent. So you're like, either his chin is gone, or maybe it was a weight cut thing, Maybe this brings him to a new level of danger. It will be more fun if he was. But yeah, Ryan Garcia is a lightning rod. We got to see where he's at. We got to see how much the performances of him and Devin Haney, especially if they both win, change how we might be looking. I mean, there's almost just as much intrigue in the Haney fight, because I think Jose Ramirez I don't think Jose is going to win, but I think he has, more of a chance than Rolly does, and more of a chance than people are giving him to potentially slow down Haney. I mean, Haney's got a lot of questions to answer after that fight. He's been out just as long. The best fight of the 5, though, is definitely Teofimo defending his 140 title against Arnold Barboza Jr. I mean, if you watch all the press stuff they've done a pretty good job, Turkey and company, in having regular press conferences and grand arrivals and public workouts. A lot of time for these crazy guys to yell at each other. I think Arnold Barboza has stood up tall and announced, in ways that his game also has, that he's here to win. He is here to have the breakthrough moment of his career. And I think the fact that Teofimo can either be the guy he was against Loma and Josh Taylor, or the guy he is against second-rate competition when it's like, do I still have it? Oh, but I was fooling you guys. Like, I don't know. I mean, he definitely was fooling us coming into the Josh Taylor fight. But, then you see the other performances, the Jermaine Ortiz, the whatever, like there's going to be these arguments to make that he didn't look that good. And, in some cases, the opponent wasn't that great either. Now, look, Jermaine Ortiz is a tough out in that. Is Teo just a guy that brings it when the challenge is more? And, I don't know. Is it a mindset thing? Is it a training thing? Obviously lost to Cambosis and took a lot of damage and had the internal issues of his torn esophagus, probably could have died. Yeah, it's been such a wild ride that Barbosa, while not spectacular, he's so solid enough. A solid boxer with good defense, a very good jab, can put together combinations, probably doesn't do enough offensively, but then that also plays into the idea that he's not there to get battered either. So that's the best fight. The most intriguing fight, though, without question, is Ryan and Rolly. And it's not really because of the sparring history. The sparring match they had was like 2017. All right. It was like so long ago. And I know none of you see the value in Rolly that I do as a entertainer, but yeah, that's the one. That's it. Okay. All right. There it is. For Harmon, it's the Canelo fight. I don't know how people can be intrigued by this. I mean, I don't. This is bad. This is a bad fight. It's a bad, and like it's a bad fight. It really is. Old man Dave. I had the time of my life is always great. You've just never heard it on a high-end stereo. Yes. There really are albums like that, though. As much as we want to be, hi-fi audio heads and be like, well, no, if you hear it on my, and but there are the first time I had put on really good headphones and plugged it into my record player in the pandemic and put on Asia by Steely Dan or The Wild, the Innocent, and the E Street Shuffle by Springsteen, or when my dad gave me his Led Zeppelin 2 copy, and I'm like, that's the best sounding record in terms of like actual audio quality that I've ever heard. And then you put on the headphones and you're like, oh my God, I'm used to listening to it on crappy, stereo or crappy speakers in my car or whatever. Like once you hear the goods, it changes things. Yes. I don't think Time of My Life would be that one that would, but I get the joke. It's great. I mean, those, damn, that's such a, there's a thin line between guilty pleasure and cringe. And I just think the whole Dirty Dancing thing, while getting close to guilty pleasure, is a complete cringe if you were raised the way we all were. And apparently you were. So that's great. All right. Lazy, but I used to get yelled at for making the record skip because my dad had a diamond tipped stylus needle. Yeah, shout out. Love it. Lazy Bed saying Mohammed Mokayev and Arman Sarukian on this Friday's Salva. Is that the grappling thing? Are they in separate fights on that? I don't know anything about this. I barely know if I don't know. Nocita, close odds boxing wise on Teo Barbosa. Yes. While Haney and Garcia are bloated, they're like plus 1,000. In terms of their prospective matchups. This one's like -1 something. This one's fantastic. I can tell you right now from DraftKings. Here we go. You're looking at Teo. Oh, it's ballooned a little bit. Teo is -225 on DraftKings, plus 180 Barbosa. You got Ryan -900, Rolly plus 550, and then Haney -1200, Ramirez plus 700. I think Ramirez also, he's not the same guy he was, but I don't think he's completely washed. And I do think that he feels like everybody thinks he is. And I do feel like him moving up in weight after years of tough cuts to 140. I know it's only a 144 catch weight, but I think this may, I mean, is that enough to throw some plus money on him? He's not a knockout puncher. I don't know. I mean, Haney would have to be flat here, but Ramirez is a very smart pressure fighter. Gets inside on you, throws punches and bunches, backs you up. If Haney's going to have issues, that is a style that could slow him down. But I ultimately think both Haney and Garcia will win and ultimately look great doing it. I just think Haney's going to have to work a little harder for this. But we don't know. I mean, it's we don't know a lot about this. What's that Times Square setup going to look like? Is it going to be raining? Like, there's a lot to, what will that affect anything? Like we got to see it. You just got to see it. Okay. You just got to see it. And Lazy Bed saying separate fights in karate combat. So that's like submission based fights, like the one Craig Jones had, right? Not like the regular karate combat where you can kick punch, right? I don't know. Alan W back in. Thank you, brother. How serious is your record player setup? Um, Moderately serious. When I got into vinyl mid-pandemic, I bought it was awesome. I bought a 1982 Quasar, like all-in-one sound system that had a turntable, tape player, radio, and its own equalizer inside there. So you don't so it's an all-in-one thing. And I bought it for $20 off Facebook Marketplace, and then went to this dude's house who was like in his 80s, and he walks me to the back of his massive garage, and it's like on the top shelf in the corner, and it's like never been touched in 40 years or whatever. Like he's like, yeah, we don't really use the record player much. Like there was something about already for me the nostalgic vintage part of vinyl, wanting to only buy used records, not being afraid to buy even like sometimes, worn used records because it's got a feel, it's got a story. But I think that the run I had with that cheap, old, but still high quality player, and then when I plugged in the old CBS Sports expensive podcast headphones that I used to use with it was a step up in quality that made the vinyl experience even more magical and eye-opening and incredible, and be like, wow, I've never heard this like this before. Obviously I got to a point where I'm like, okay, I got to upgrade and actually get a legitimate system. I am thrifty though. I am cheap, I guess you can say, because I've always been sort of climbing the mountain, so to speak, and behind the eight ball, working hard, trying to get to where I want to go. I don't toss a lot of money at my passions, so to speak. You know what I mean? I put the family first, but I found what I thought was the perfect price range and company for me, and it's Andover Audio, which is like a niche mom and pop vinyl player creator in northern Mass, in the Berkshires, in North Andover, Massachusetts. And they were rocking with the the high end review magazines were saying was the best quality for the mid lower price. So I got their spin bass. I got it in white, which is a square receiver speaker system with speakers on three sides. And then I bought for, I think it was like I think it was only, it may have been only like under 400 total combined for that, and then the actual Andover turntable also in white. And that combination is it's beautiful. It is beautiful. I've yet to pick up headphones specifically for that, but I just finally parted ways with the beloved Quasar. For a while I was rocking the Andover unit for when I play it out loud, and then the headphones on the Quasar when it was either quiet or even to fall asleep to sometimes, because it had that awesome automatic stop, automatic return on the arm in there. The Andover's way better sound quality though. It's been a fantastic purchase. It's given me what I wanted to. It's a little stubborn. It's a little, because everything's manual, because you're going to get the best sound the less parts you have on the inside. But for that price range, it's fantastic. I got no issue with it. Obviously, like anybody who's used to drinking $15 wine, and then you get, you stumble into a corporate dinner with like a $500 bottle, and you're like, oh my God, the other half does live the way my dreams tell me they do. I would love to not only start sampling and trying out the higher end stuff, but actually one day get, a couple $1,000 player and really see what that life is like. Let me get that high end headphone, right? Let me really get experience. I mean, when you can put on the headphones and literally feel like you're sitting in the midst of the band while they record it, and you're in the eighth row, I mean, that you don't need friends. That's a party right there. That's a long time party right there. So that's my humble setup here in the basement office. But threw away the old one. It had its day. The headphones broke. Now I'm on the main player there. Old Man Dave, growing up, TV was built into a cabinet that had a radio and record player built in also. Yeah, I had one of those at a house I rented about 7-8 years ago. It was in like a covered porch. It was just left there by the previous owners. They're like, yeah, take it. And it was actually pretty awesome. I did play a couple pieces of vinyl on there and used the radio, and it made me feel very mid-century modern. Actually, the house that the Airbnb that we rented for a couple nights just on this vacation in California out there in Yucca Valley to go see Joshua Tree, it was specifically like a, you know, mid-century modern type of restored 1968 look, and it was awesome. I do have a nostalgia for that. But and actually in that rental house, they had one of those old school big ones with the record player. You know, the wood comes up and the record player, you got the record holder there. It was a pretty awesome setup for an Airbnb to have a pretty badass old school record player and a pile of very eclectic records for you to use as the customer, as the vacationer. I can get down with that. Nosita back in on this Times Square card. Is it crazy to think Ryan Roley goes the distance? It's knee-jerk crazy, meaning right away you're like, oh, come on. You know, Roley's got a puncher's chance and he's been stopped the 2 times he stepped up. His other 2 biggest fights, the things you can say are his 2 biggest wins, Jackson Mariñez for a secondary title at 135, and then my grandpa Ishmael Barroso for that one vacant 140 or 140, was it 140 title? Both he looked flat, clearly didn't win, and they gave him a BS decision. So I get the whole idea that like Roley's kind of this party favorite, but I think that like you got to remember Roley's been calling for this fight forever. He used their sparring match in 2017 to get a lot of street cred and to push his name out there. He has been saying for like 8 years that they're eventually going to fight at welterweight and it's going to be, quote, one of the biggest fights of all time. Now, this is not one of the biggest fights of all time, but the unique nature of the venue, the first U.S. card on Turkey's Ring Magazine series, like it's a pretty big deal. So will he, what I'm trying to say is, will Roley overachieve, not having to cut the crazy weight anymore? No one believes he can win. This wild setup. Ryan's been off of a year. Can he overachieve to the point, not of winning, not of scoring a knockout, but of being enough of a sturdy threat that Ryan has to transition from the expected outcome we have of Ryan jab, you know, lightning quick left hook in round 3 to drop him once. And then, you know, Roley gets up and then wobbles for a round and then gets stopped. I mean, that's what most people are probably thinking in their head, 5th round KO, right? Could it go the distance? It's possible. Roley's tough, sturdy. His technique sucks. He's raw, but he has been working with Ishmael Salas. He hasn't been showing the growth there from his days with Bullet. The guy's name was Bullet. This guy was great. The best part, I know he has a real name and he's an ex-boxer, but when Roley rolled out Bullet at that first Tank press conference, the one that I hosted in California, remember the fight was originally announced and then Roley had the questionable situation with the girl that turned out negative, but they pulled him from that. That first press conference, dude, I'll never forget. I tee up a question to Bullet, like, you know, what are you guys going to do? What's the strategy to beat Tank? And he's like, I'm going to train him not to win a single round. I'm going to train him to murder him. I'm going to train him to inflict damage on him, make him feel it, make him hurt. Like, it was like the most like raw, rough, like, then we're going to bang him. Like, just total like ridiculousness. It was great. Is it crazy to think? The odds are against it. It's most likely that Ryan gets a stoppage or gets stopped. But did you think Haney Garcia was going to go the distance on what you originally thought? I originally thought Haney was going to stop him. I thought Ryan was a freaking mess with no defense. I thought Ryan was still in his head from the Tank fight. The biggest thing we learned from that Haney fight, maybe outside of the craziness of Garcia and the fact that that left hook is just money, even through Haney's defense, is that Ryan's just a different dude, confidence-wise, than he ever seemed to be in the Luke Campbell fight and the Tank fight and any different parts of his run. Like, he's wired in and dialed in. Did we ever think that he could drop Haney 3 times but not finish him? No, Haney fought his ass off to keep getting up and winning rounds in between. But that was, again, a weird Ryan who was undertrained, who couldn't fight all 3 minutes of every round. Long-winded explanation short. This fight is not going to go the distance. It's probably not going to go the distance. But yes, if you can get plus money on it, is there a path? Is there a scenario? Yeah, of course. Of course. Of course. You might steal some money that way. But I don't think Ryan should be a 9 or 10 to 1 favorite, but he should be the firm favorite here to get the KO. Boxing lines are so bloated compared to MMA. It's wild. It's wild. All right. Yeah, good luck to you too, Harmon. Okay, you're probably not even. There's conversations going on all over this place right now. One in my head. You should be there for it. It's fantastic. Main card minute telling me it's plus 400 that it will go the distance. Yeah, you got to. I mean, you got to take it for $5-10 bet for sure. But in terms of moving some stacks in that direction, you got to really believe that not just that Rolly's chin can take a lot of Ryan's left hooks, because it's not like Rolly's going to be ducking punches, but like I think you got to believe that Rolly disciplines Ryan. Yeah, that might be a freaking leap. That's a leap, dude. That's a leap. You got Ryan's gonna be dialed in. Ryan's gonna be a motherfucker in this fight. That Rolly is not gonna have an answer for that left hook. Take it for a small amount, but you're gonna eat that money. Barry, will you do a testicle reveal at 20,000 subs? Wow, that is that is aggressive. That is, I mean, is it like a half out of the bag, tight shorts, John Stockton acts, slip, or are we talking the full reveal? Let's see where my financial future is at that point and how badly we got to figure out who's sending these kids to college. All right. There we go. No, the answer is no. The answer is no. But I will show you my tattoo around my navel. No, that's Luke Thomas. All right. Alan W., thank you for your support of this show. Bomac is DC's future. Wow, that's a dark comment. That's a dark joke right there. We're doing diabetes, Wilford Brimley jokes right now. I hope not. We can make the jokes about DC's enjoying his retirement, and he seems to joke a lot about eating hot dogs in between TV commercials, between fights and whatever. I mean, get it on, DC, right? Get after it. Just don't get unhealthy and don't get super sloppy, and don't wear that WWE ref shirt again. I know, like, he's not coming through that doorway to fight Jon Jones at heavyweight a third, for a trilogy or something. I know that's not going to happen, but we can't go to the Bomac level. To be fair, DC, we can't. Please, okay, please. But I think it's just DC. He's going to be a thick dude the rest of the way. Let's just keep it healthy. We don't need early heart attacks. We need DC. Even the times that DC's announcing quality, which can dip at times, I think more often than not, it points up. I did that ranking that time when I launched this channel of who I thought were the best UFC broadcasters in order. And I had DC2 there. And I think the point I'm trying to make is even when him and Joe are doing the fight companion stuff too much and goofing off, he's just so endearing. I love DC. It just makes, I love him. I love him. I want to see him in this role for a very long. I think he's going to be like the lovable teddy bear, opposite persona of like a Charles Barkley. But I also think there's, I like to see him stand out more and take hard stances like Tim Bradley does, for example. Tim Bradley takes chances with his stances. He's not afraid to piss off the young fighters. I'm not saying people have to be the Shaq and Charles old man, my era guys, but we need DC on our TVs. Okay. We don't need diabetes. Thank you very much. Alan W. also getting after it again. Thank you. Reggie Lewis and Bias under Bird. What if, dude? That is, I mean, not in that whole Celtic City, again, horrible name, but for the documentary, that fantastic Bill Simmons documentary series. I mean, it's fantastic. It's not perfect, but it's fantastic. It really played into that there was almost a curse, and don't forget that Paul Pierce got shot up or stabbed 11 times, in his early prime in the year 2000. And everyone's like, first of all, how did he not die? Second of all, how did he play just a few weeks later? I guess it's definitely a testament to his toughness and where he comes from in Inglewood there. But that looked like it was going to be every bad thing happens in threes. And why does the Celtics keep having to lose these young guys right when they're at their prime? But outside of the obvious main issue there, the lives of these players themselves, the whole what if about how they could have or would have been able to extend the primes of Parrish, Bird, and McHale in a much more graceful way while still keeping the team a major elite contender. And remember, they were a pretty damn good contender the last couple of years, even with old ass Bird. 1991, at the midway point, they were number one in the East. Chris Ford was the coach at the All-Star game in Charlotte. It was old Bird, old McHale, old Parrish, but you had Reggie Lewis, Brian Shaw, D. Brown. You had like the next generation. So they were old and slow, and they can run at the same time. Imagine if you added Len Bias to that. Imagine how they would have been able to then extend into the late 90s. Oh, my God. In particular, the timing of Len Bias dying as they so smartly Red Auerbach engineered that trade to get the number 2 pick in 86. Cavs take Brad Daugherty with number 1. But like, you really need to get up on Len Bias if you don't know that he would give it to Jordan head to head when UNC played Maryland. Like, he was 6'8", a freak of nature, a dunking, rebounding, scoring force. Imagine that old team in 87, maybe not old in terms of age, but definitely in terms of mileage. Celtics win the title in 86. But in 87, Walton's hurt, not coming through that door. McHale breaks his foot at the end of the regular season, but plays through it to a level that, harms the rest of his career, shortens the rest of his career. And then they had no bench in 87. You can put in Jerry Seichting for a couple minutes, but like those 5 starters, Ainge, DJ, and the greatest front line of all time, would play like 43, 44 minutes a night. They went for it. They played the Lakers. It was the rematch of the 84 and 85 back-to-back when they traded titles. And imagine if you insert the rookie energy of a Len Bias into that. And I don't think Bias being there would have changed their draft order, because they got Reggie Lewis late in the 87 draft. And it took him a couple of years to kind of really become Reggie Lewis, to be fair. But imagine if Reggie Lewis starts as that young 6-man off the bench, and Bias is taking the big minutes away at the 3/4, so Bird and McHale aren't putting as much mileage on them. And even though I love their contributions to the old Celtics teams, imagine if we don't have to play Kevin Gamble and Ed Pickney all those minutes. I mean, yeah, imagine Reggie, like, people, because he was so team oriented, and because he was so quiet and humble, and because obviously he died right at the early peak of who he was and who he was going to become in 1993. No one talks about Reggie Lewis anymore, but I'm glad that documentary series showed that not only was he an all-star, not only was he a solid 20 point per game 2/3 who was unselfish, who played great defense. I mean, people don't realize he was arguably Jordan's toughest matchup defensively in the early 90s. Like, he gave it to Jordan. He blocked him 4 times in one game. Like, he had the length, he had the tenacity, but he played the Celtic way. They would have won the title in 87 with rookie Bias. And I feel like between 88 and 92, they would have effed around and got another one. Especially once you transition to your 1-2 is Bias and Reggie Lewis. And whether Bird, McHale, Parrish like stay on in, supporting roles, or whether they do the old Celtic 1960s tradition of retire at the exact point that they have slowed just enough where the guy behind them that they've been grooming was ready to make the pass. And, that Bird, Parrish, McHale era was, I think, in a lot of ways, the last era from the Red Auerbach, whole stretch of being coach, GM, all that, president, of when they would still prepare the next generation. And they talk about that in the doc. Reggie Lewis, Brian Shaw, well, not Reggie Lewis, but like, not he didn't talk about it, but obviously, like, those guys got the apprenticeship of this is how we do it in this organization. It's about team first. Like, I know that came back with Doc Rivers in Ubuntu, and that really is the key to why they won in 08, even more than the fact that they went out in free agency and got another big 3. But it's tough. I mean, the Celtics were already, the rich getting richer, so it's hard to, outside of the obviously of Bias's death, it's hard to get too like caught up in that, because they went to the finals without him that next year, but it would have changed everything. Thank you. Great question, Ellen. Thank you. Afghan Commander coming in with these loonies. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. Can you dunk, or have you ever dunked? No. So I have, I also, for any times in my life that I've effed around in a weight room or a gym with a membership, and, I've largely been this skinny fat guy or this thin guy, but I never worked out legs properly. I always did the, what's going to look best? What's the cheapest way to looking good in a t-shirt to go out, right? Chest and forearms, or chest and shoulders, whatever. I never worked the legs enough, so I really have no excuse for how poor of a vertical I had. But I had a negative vertical in terms of a white guy who loves basketball, but was unathletic to that level and couldn't jump. I had flat feet too. I had to wear inserts as a kid, so maybe that certainly had an effect on the way I walked and run. That I guess you could say I had Jon Jones level underdeveloped calves. So at the peak, of me having a shot at it, let's say 17, 18, I could touch the rim with my finger, but not lift a ball above it, or really not come close for a guy who's 6'1.5" flat footed, maybe 6'2" with shoes on. There was a point in my mid-20s where I was doing some squats and I got in shape, and that was probably my best stretch as a basketball player because I had some athleticism, because I actually was working legs a little bit. And if you play basketball your whole life with no lift, and then you actually commit a little bit to it, it's like a PED. Suddenly I wasn't dunking, but I could drive to the hoop and score over people for the first time, rather than having a game so largely built upon head fakes and getting under people, being an old school scoop shot artist, a hook shotter, committing to a McHale level of a million post moves. So no, it's laughable about me ever dunking. And even in my physical prime there in my mid-20s, I couldn't push it above. I couldn't palm it either, but this is what I've been given. Okay. That's what it is. All right. Thank you. I was that kid though, that would always be like, man, if I could just save up like a couple $1,000 and just, pay a genie to have the ability to dunk for 1 hour. And I mean, like really dunk, not scraping it in. I mean, put it on. It's like, what would you do for that 60 minutes? What park would you go to? Who would you call up and be like, yo, let's play hoops right now? Cause I'm about to put that tomahawk on you. All right. Yeah. I probably in my whole youth that would have been the number one. If you could have one wish as a kid, I'd be like, yeah, that I can dunk. I probably should have said that I could play guitar. I probably should have been. That would have taken me further in terms of, exactly what I'm talking about. All right. Tuck, back at it. You've inspired me to take the content dive. Thank you. Which content dive are you talking about? I don't know. Dive her down, baby. Thank you, Devin Tuck. It's my guy. All right. Lazy bed. My elementary school teacher told me I reminded him of Emmitt Smith when I was doing the shuttle drill. And to be honest, I'm still chasing that high. Dude, you got to cling to it. We can make jokes about the Al Bundy 4 touchdowns in one game. Whatever you got in your history, it may not be the high school level. You may not have once played AAA ball. But whatever you have, cling to it. All right. All right. You earned that. They can't take that. They can't take that away from you. What that coach said, that's you forever in your mind. All right. Come on. LNW, I bet you caught the cock. Okay. I'm sure that was an earlier reference that I missed in the flow. Oh yeah, the peacock. Yeah. Shout out to I caught okay. There we go. Thank you, Alan. Thank you very much. Yes. All right. Let's hear from J.T. Bacon 70. Yeah. JT. Hey, BC. You mentioned a couple weeks ago, Nice Price Records in Raleigh, North Carolina. I was wearing a Nice Price t-shirt earlier today. Yes. Got to stop in there and picked up Slipknot's self-titled LP. Will definitely be returning whenever I roll through town. So shout out to the co-owner, Enoch Marchant, my guy, who was listening to me and Rafe on the boxing pods way back in the day. And we've, stayed close. MK fan, owns a damn awesome vinyl shop, Nice Price, books and records in Raleigh, North Carolina, across the street from NC State. Really enjoy the friendship I have with that guy. He sent me some great merch from their store. A lot of great rock tributes on these shirts. And if you're in that NC area, stop in, say hi. Look for Enoch, long black hair, big beard, and tell him BC said what's up. That's what I'm talking about. I think he used to own. I think he was telling me they've had like concerts and live music at the record store too. I know that the guys that work there have a podcast where they sort of pick an artist and count down, rank in order, the discography and his. They did one on Neil Young that I listened to. It was incredible. Neil Young's got a lot of albums. So shout out. Well done, JT Bacon. Get in there on my fellow over there. Nice Price. So I'm talking about. All right, let's go over to Salvador Darty in the house. All right. Did Rogan do Schaub a great disservice by publicly talking him out of fighting? Bappa was top 10 ranked, in great physical shape, and was a decent fighter. Rogan sent him on this terrible comedy arc. Your words, Salvador, not mine. I've seen that theory put on the Reddits before. In all seriousness, I think Joe made the right move because Joe was actually right. And it was obviously that's one of like the all-time modern podcast moments because it was something that was like so real that happened on a show between two friends. But I think Joe was right at that point. Schaub had accumulated some losses. He wasn't going to get any better. He kind of already really had maxed out, right? I mean, college football player had maxed out to get where he was, top 10 UFC, knocking out Crow Cop. Like, that's not nothing. Bappa's accomplished some shit. Shout out to him, right? But at that point, what Joe was really trying to say was, it's only going to get worse. You're only going to take more damage and get KO'd, from here. You have an opportunity. You have a personality. You have skills that can be tapped into. And for a bit, it did look like that when he was hosting stuff on E, when he had that original show on Showtime, and I don't know if and you can say what you will about his comedy and stuff. Joe gave him the ultimate rub and push of like, here, go for it. I'll write the playbook for you. Go for it. And I don't know if it's just that the focus became largely on podcasting or if the other stuff fell away and dissipated. I mean, I'm not in a war with Brendan. I'm not going to do the whole Ariel, like, how did this go? How did that go thing? But I think that was the greatest gift as a friend that he did to him to get him off of that path. Let's see where Bappa can take it from here. I mean, we're all grifting and hustling and trying to keep the train moving. We're all trying to put somebody's kids through college, right? That's what I'm talking about. Old man Dave, I could dunk a girl's ball. Should have bought those silly jump shoes. Yeah, man, I really wanted those silly jump shoes. Those with the platform on the bottom. I probably, if I would have just committed to any level of plyometrics and actually trying to build up my legs, I would have, in my basketball era, right, whenever that was, playing for town rec leagues and trying to make middle and high school teams, but unsuccessfully. I could have been so much better in hindsight if I wasn't so lazy / ignorant. Turns out, to get better at something, you actually have to put in the time and the craft and the hours. I didn't realize that until my 20s. I thought I became I was happy with the player I became in my 20s and 30s. I'm not playing in high level leagues. I'm playing in old guy leagues, whatever, or playing in, I played a lot of pickup in my 20s. But I never became a shooter, but I think I tried my best to max out the physical skills that I had. I miss the game right now. I miss it. But if I come out of retirement, I should probably just keep it on the driveway one-on-one with my kid. And my son Chris can play. He can beat me every once in a while, but I'll use every inch of that court to my advantage. I will bank in off the tree branch if I have to. You know what I'm saying? Like I always say, it might just be an afternoon pickup game for you. It's game 7 for me. It's on. It's on. I'm going to win this NBA championship eventually. Okay. All right. Thank you. You're a chucker. Yeah, I'm a poor outside shooter. I can hit an open shot. I don't have range. Before I got old, I could drive, but I've always leaned on a post game. And I'm always trying to get you in the air. I'm trying to draw the N1, even if there's no referee. I'm trying to, I'll creatively find a way. Really, I've evolved. I think the greatest thing I've brought to the game in my 30s and 40s was actually trying on defense really hard. So again, that's the type of thing. You got to be in shape, but the more you try on defense, you suddenly become a better defender. But not just that, my evolution as a passer, particularly in the lane, right? I got a lot of Bird and influence in me from that regard, little scoop passes right there. For some reason, the game started to finally slow down for me in my 40s, probably because I'm playing against old guys too that are in their 40s and 50s. But I feel like I'm like Magic Johnson out there sometimes. It's great, without the, the HIV and stuff. But all right. We need more PF Chang's on MK, LNW. Yeah, I mean, sometimes I try to mix it in, play the hits, the old favorites. Sometimes, Bappa just takes a left turn that, Reddit's all over, and you're like, damn, this is unbelievable. It really has been unbelievable, some of the turns that man has taken, though, through different feuds or different missteps and the lawsuits with Unique and all that. I mean, it's wild. It's a weird reality show that I feel bad watching, but there you go. There you go. – 9:15 a.m. Boxers that deserve movies. Great question. It's a great question. I mean, most of our heroes certainly have gotten them in a lot of ways. Boxing is such a, whether it's fictional based or it's based on real things. I mean, boxing movies, great boxing books back when great writers used to watch boxing and love it and write about it. It really just has such a crossover into that romantic storytelling. Who of modern, what I love? Not a movie. I would love a definitive documentary on Floyd Mayweather. And I don't mean one that him and his team does. If Showtime was still around, would they be the right people? I mean, even they would still kind of do a sanitized version. But let's not forget, not just Floyd's greatness as a fighter. He was involved in a lot of different things over the years that was very high profile. He became a absolute household name, the biggest star in combat sports, the most financially successful in history. Played his cards right business-wise incredibly, was a part of, those stretches where it just didn't matter. If he was fighting, it didn't matter against who. A certain stretch of the casual crossover world was going to be there. Maybe fueled by the desire for him to finally fight Manny, of course, but I would love, again, not a movie. I would like The Last Dance type treatment, or like Bill Simmons is giving the Celtics, like a just real in-depth treatment with the good and bad, talking to everybody. Imagine if you could get Al Heyman to sit down to talk for that. That'd be pretty incredible. Al too needs a documentary, but in terms of whose real life story, like Francis Ngannou in MMA is the number one pick. Francis deserves a movie. He'll probably get it one day. In boxing, it's not like there's not great stories. I mean, Pacquiao's the length of Pacquiao's entire life arc. Yeah, probably Pacquiao would be a great choice. I mean, you could start it off with the small poor kid literally selling cigarettes or donuts on the side of the road in Manila to try to keep his. I mean, it's that stuff sells itself. Yeah. All right. I want that right answer. I want that. Bernard Hopkins. That would be a great movie. It really would. I think there's even the way he was like a shark as a negotiator, and would get in fights with his own promoters and sue them. I mean, like coming out of jail. That's it right there. All right. BC working on a 4-hour street. Yeah, I got to tidy up, and we got to get through these. All right. I got an HQ hit coming up. All right. Got a lot of boxing to talk about. Let YouTube cop Brian, the MMA community has decided you will take over as head matchmaker and UFC president after Dana. Finally, right? Finally, we need you to save this company. You don't have a choice. Yeah, I accept. I accept that. It's like the thing that I'm wondering lately, and I hate this. I hate the feeling. I hate having to wonder this. Like in regards to the malaise that we all feel, because it's obvious that they are watering down / not trying / trying to save as much money as they can while they extract as much money as they can. And, and you see Ari and the other big guns getting, hundreds of $1 million. And I'm not saying that they haven't made just incredible moves since buying the UFC into getting them in the position, and now you got this super group of TKO, and you add Nick Khan's genius to the family. And it's like, yeah, it's impressive. But what I would really want to know, if I could ask one question behind the scenes and get an absolute honest answer, is from Dana to the matchmakers to even the announced talent, who I'm sure doesn't raise their hand and be like, guys, this matchup shit or this card is shit. I get it. We're, there's employees. But I do wonder at the end of the day, Are they all hamstrung because of the financial plan and the matchmakers can't do better than they are because they're purposely trying to keep things down, money down, all that? Or do they think they're doing a great job and still completely on top? Like, obviously, like Ari and the high level guys at TKO, like this is their plan. Exactly what's happening right now was their plan. But what about for Dana? What about for Sean Shelby? What about for people that we can't just like regularly interview whenever we want and get honest answers and takes? You know, what about John Anik? I mean, I'm friends with him, but I'm not like I'm texting him all the time, and I wouldn't, you know, certainly push too far in trying to extract information that he wouldn't want to share. But like, are they all like, yeah, like the critics are harsh, we're trying our best? Or is everybody exactly where we are too? It's just where they're at right now. I don't know. It's tough. It's tough. Tuxedo Mask, thank you for your support. You're cool, but Luke Thomas is a massive cuck. Okay. I mean, Luke Thomas is a very nice man. Okay, very nice family, very nice husband and father. Let's put a little love on him right there. All right. Does he piss us off sometimes? Yeah, but you know, it's part of the brotherhood. It's part of the relationship. All right. There we go. Thank you for your support, though. Oh yeah, we got that. We got through that one too. Okay. Let's hear back from Run Dem Cheeks. Thank you, Joe. Great to hear from you. How hilarious would it be if Gon beats Aspinall for the belt and then beats a returning Jon Jones by sitting for a heel hook? Let's keep the first part as the real question here. I mean, I guess there's a dark level of hilarity there with like you F around, you deserve this. If Gon did pull the upset on Aspinall and even more if he like exposed him, like let's say he like out he's a mover. Let's say Gon goes back to Gon the mover and he's slick and he's not getting hit and he's completely controlling the terms and he gasses Aspinall out and he wins the decision. Barely anybody wins in that scenario. Almost no one outside of Gon, but it's like, would you then be like, yeah, that's what you get. You should have gone through this UFC. Because it's like, damn, dude, we wouldn't want to see a rematch between the two. I mean, and then we'd have to see him against Jon again. Yeah, that is we can't have Gon Aspinall. We can't have it. We can't have it for the interim title. If it's for the full title, then F Jon and let's move on. We cannot have that. Van Morrison and Jim Morrison made a band together. They're called The Card. They called it the Car Doors. Wow, Mr. Cunningham. Is that did I miss that fact in rock history, or is that some dad humor coming out of you? Here we go. All right, we're going to close up shop. We're going to knock out everything that's in my queue right here. Thank you guys all for your support, for being here. All right, for being you. All right, Alan W. How much MK lotion are you going to use? Where is my? You know what? The spigot, the spout broke. It's full of lotion. It doesn't. I don't know what I did to it. I can't get it out. I can't get the jerkins out of there. But shout out for as brief as that gimmick lasted. This is a relic. This is a collector's item right here. All right. Almost as much as my Kevin Nash drink holder here from NWO Wolfpack. All right. Oh, how much MK lube are you going to use for Garcia Romero? I'm thinking Mayorga versus Oscar. No, it's not on the Mayorga, Oscar level where like we're us remaining Oscar super fans were fearful for Oscar's life. And then when he got that KO and gave that bully what he deserved, it was one of two times I've danced on a couch. And boxing, it's like I normally cheer for like the sport or the matchup. It's rare, especially in the modern times as a journalist, that I've had favorite fighters or I've ridden that journey with them. It was like Ray Leonard as a kid. It was Oscar in the late 90s and 2000s. I think to some degree we all got like really on the Triple G hype train to the point where like we loved us some Triple G. I mean, I've loved watching the Usyk run. It's been hard not to cheer for him lately. And of course, we've all had, brief stretches with favorite fighters, and the Bernard Hopkins run in his old age was so much fun to watch. I was definitely cheering for him, so to speak. But Garcia Romero is more of, it's like half must see, half this is gas station hot dogs that only I would go out of the way and say this is my super fight. We don't need to lube up, but I'm going to be excited, fired up, and I hope to be on this here channel after this card is all said and done, talking to you guys about it. Okay. All right. Wrapping up here. Harmon Sarai, have you gotten any new vinyls? No, it's been a little quiet on the vinyl hunt. I haven't been on much work trips. I haven't been calling a lot of fights lately, which gets me out a lot of ways and a lot of times. Not a whole ton new to report on at the moment. I am on a Joe Walsh / James Gang run that will not end right now, and I don't want it to. Okay, thank you. I'm enjoying that. What you rocking on your iPod, right? Right? No one gets that. No one gets that reference. You shouldn't, but legendary moment just the same. Alan W. Drazen Petrovic, unsung all-time great shooter. No question about it. Love the retroactive respect that he's getting right now in the age of Like All the Smoke, these old guy, former player podcasts. All the Smoke had Reggie Miller on and Vernon Maxwell on, and they were telling stories just being like, I mean, he would. Prime Drazen, 92, 93. I think he was an all-star one of those 2 years in 93. He was third team All-NBA in 93, his last year before he died, when him, Derek Coleman, and Kenny Anderson took the Nets to the playoffs. He would give it to Jordan. He wasn't a great defender. He didn't necessarily try to be. He was an early, he's an early 90s Euro guy, so that's the case. But the precision on the shots and a variety of leaners, head, like all angles, the balls, the cocky trash talk, and then in every single one of his opponents said it, whether it's a cultural thing or whether it was a planned weaponized thing, the dude always smelled horrible at all times, like he hadn't showered in weeks, and people had to guard him and get up on that. And then he's talking trash when he's hitting big shots. I loved him most because it's the combination of the killer instinct and shot ability with the fact that he was so celebratory. He showed so much joy when he played. Those are the best moments, the highlights of him running down the court, just like after he made a huge shot. I would have loved to seen, over the course of a decade, who he would have evolved into as a player. We would be talking about him so much. I mean, he came to the Blazers, like 89 and barely played, was on their 1990 finals team, barely played, and then gets the trade to the Nets. And we get like 2.5 seasons of what his evolution was. Give him a decade. Who is that guy? I mean, it's incredible. And by the way, he would be awesome today. He would be absolutely awesome in today's game. Shadow 2 Bravo, thank you for your support right there. It was good to see you got your fastball back with this week's HYSTS. Yeah, I think I'm on a decent run lately. I mean, I get that there's certainly more offensive clips I could be running that you guys send me all the time that I'm just like, too far, guys, too far. The whole point isn't to go too far. The point is to catch Luke off guard and get that response we want. Now, look, Luke, some episodes you're just not going to get a happy Luke that's going to play ball. He's exhausted. He hasn't slept. He's whatever. He's living life on his sleeve, right? He's showing you on his sleeve what he's doing. You see his emotions. But when you can get a Luke that wants to laugh or doesn't know that he wants to laugh, but you can catch him off guard with that with that BC's feces. Okay. We're on to something here. Okay. Then that's the magic. That's the real entertainment. Okay. I feel bad with these 9/11 stuff. I feel bad with the Kobe helicopters to a degree, but it's about getting that reaction. All right. That's what it is. It's manipulating that man's soul for the entertainment of everyone else out there. Thank you. I mean, should it be any other way? All right. 3 more and then we're done. Here we go. This is YouTube Cop. Oh, thank you. We hit that already. This is my guy, Alan W. Dude, Alan W. just nailed it. It should have been my answer earlier when we were reacting to that great question about 90s movies. And High Fidelity by John Cusack is my movie. It's crazy. When it came out, I had nothing to do with vinyl and really didn't, again, until like the pandemic, right? I think this movie came out in 98 or 99. Such a smart movie. I, of course, loved Cusack from the 80s. Better Off Dead, it, speaks for itself. I even love Grosse Point Blank. Like I've followed him a lot of his journey. The one with Bobcat Goldthwait, that early fun one with Demi Moore, you know what I'm talking about. But this, to me, even though I wasn't even into vinyl then, when it came out, I remember everyone being like, "Oh my God, have you seen it yet? That's your movie." Every conversation was a top 10 list. That was me with my friends to this day on everything. I've always got a working top 5 or top 10 list of everything in my life, and it's constantly changing. That's weird, but that's Cusack in this movie. And he happened to own a record shop and have badass friends like Jack Black. What a great 90s flick. Check it out. What a great flick. And it's one of those two that's like like Ferris Bueller, he's talking to the camera. He's bringing the audience member in. Sometimes that works. All right. I got the 2 lined up here, and then we're out of here. Then I got some HQ business, okay? We're going to set the stage here for this weekend. Michael Carson, thank you for your support today of this here podcast. UFC has yet to announce a main event for IFW. Let's say Aspinall needs an opponent. BC, what's your price? And do you Bob Sapp it and tap immediately? I guess we're all faced with that dilemma of like, how much money would it actually take for us to say yes to go in the octagon against insert big name? And, what's the risk reward on how injured we can get and how embarrassed we get being just absolutely, flatline and sent to hell. I try to be of the nature that I won't do gross things for money. I never give in on the, you're telling me for $2 million you wouldn't eat poop? And it's like, no, I wouldn't, dude. I really wouldn't. Okay. Not trying to get money that way. I don't need this. I don't need Aspinall gone for the interim title either. But to play games with you, what's my price? God, it'd have to be high. It'd have to be really high. And I'd have to be really high too, right? Yeah, all right. We're at least 10 million, okay? At least. But I would feel gross about it, and then I'd get sent to hell, and I'd be teaching the wrong lesson to people. No, we're not doing it, all right? Hey, Dana, get your house in order, all right? All right. Alan, not a 90s flick. So, Alan, man, thank you for your support. But yeah, did you send me to hell? Let me look. Was High Fidelity a 2000 flick? The year 2000. Great call. The actual and the year 2000. Thank you very much. Great flick. And finally here, Vital George, 85. Vital Jorge, maybe. BC, what is your opinion on Frank Zappa's take that Jimi Hendrix's greatness was set back by his inability to write down his music? Does this level of raw talent make the point null? Is music literacy important? This is a fantastic question. Fantastic. And obviously it's wheelhoused in my absolute wheelhouse. The fact that Jimmy was such a sublime natural when it comes to his ear, the whole thing is true. He didn't play traditional bar scales chords. He played feelings. He played colors. He was such an experimenter of getting every possible sound out of that thing, even though he's playing a right-handed guitar upside down, right? And was such an innovator with the use of pedals and distortion and feedback and all of that. That just his ability to essentially, well, not just the fact that he's a triple threat, meaning he's a great lyricist, in terms of, a Dylan and Beatles super fan who was just an absolutely incredible songwriter that does not get the credit for it. Then he's the greatest guitarist of all time. And then the triple threat part of it to me is that I love the way he sings. And I know that, he hated his own voice and it was an insecurity, but he's the ultimate triple threat. And to have the brief, but just over the top, amazing, next level. We've never seen anything like this career because of his ability to just do that, to play a mood, to create a landscape, you can watch some of those real deep, like Rick Beato type breakdown videos that show like how innovative his guitar playing really actually was, like how often he'd play just a portion of the note in the right spot. And, the guy's just, and then had hands had impossibly long fingers. It just made his ability to do that. So is that enough? Does that make the point? No. Yes, it does. Ultimately, that's more than enough. He is an innovator, a guy that doesn't belong coloring in between the lines, right? The fact that he was so insanely abstract, but also so in command of his gifts to be able to harness all that raw power and incredible sound creation with like incredibly deep lyrics and a love for sci-fi and aliens and that whole thing, which played so much into his music. His music was never truly prog, right? It's psychedelic rock built off of his chops in the American blues. And, and the fact that his apprenticeship to becoming Jimi Hendrix, of being a session touring guitarist on the Chitlin circuit, playing with Little Richard and, you know, acts of those days, like that gave him the groundwork, built up his chops to such an incredible level that then his talent allowed him to go places people still can't interpret properly to this day, still can't figure out. But even though he was the triple threat, he wasn't perfect, because he couldn't read music, he couldn't write it, and somebody like Zappa was the ultimate orchestrator in that regard. If Jimmy did have that ability, and obviously also if he didn't die at age 27 of a heroin overdose and become a leading member of the 27 Club, in fact, probably the biggest loss of that infamous club, you know, that spans multiple decades, but the biggest loss creatively, without question. I feel like he would have ended up in 70s jazz fusion, probably collaborating with Miles Davis anyway. And that would have been the lane that he went and explored. And I mean, you're telling me that like in the mid 70s, when Jeff Beck puts out, you know, the back-to-back albums, what is it? What? Maybe the two greatest, you know, rock instrumental albums of all time, Blow by Blow and Blow by Blow in 75, and then Wired in 1976. You're telling me that Jimi Hendrix wouldn't respond to that? They wouldn't go, oh, okay, touche. Let me show you what I'm going to do. Here's a Jimi Hendrix, you know, jazz influenced album. No lyrics, no anything. I mean, where he would have went anyway would have been next level. How would that have been improved or altered or different if he had also had that orchestrative skill set, the technical skill set, the ability to interpret it that way? I mean, it's like, you know, that's a dream. It's like, you know, picking your favorite superhero and then picking your greatest, you know, superpower from another superhero and adding it on, or, you know, picking an NBA team like the 2013 Heat and then adding Ray Allen to them, or 2014. You know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff. In the end, it's a moot point, but it does make you wonder how different. It's probably, if he had that, or if he had acquired that skill, it's probably more likely he goes down the prog route, or really one of my favorite stretches of rock history, that crossover time right around 1970 where psychedelic bands were moving into prog anyway. It would have been interesting in that realm if he has like that classical background where he goes there. But I'm more interested in where he would have gone in the jazz fusion and the exploration of funk. I mean, Band of Gypsies was more funky than everything we'd seen when he was in the All Black Trio there. That would have been wild. That would have been something. It's a great loss. All right. I rambled for a real lot, but it was fun. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your support. If you're into it, if we hit the topics you liked, it may have been a great ramble. Thank you, Bivol. Tip your waitress. And definitely, Brody, you cannot leave your girl around Jimmy with those fingers. There's no question. I mean, Jimmy, you already knew, even if you had heard of him or not, if Jimi Hendrix walks into a party and the way he dressed and the swag that he brought, he's taking all your liquor and your girls anyway, and probably your heroin at the end of the day, unfortunately. But the GOAT, the greatest of all time. That, you know, I got to get O'Teal from Dead and Company, O'Teal Burbridge, my guy. I got to get him on this channel where we're just talk music, because that's my favorite conversation with him. Is Jimi Hendrix literally the GOAT? In the, you know, for us, yeah. For some, it's, you know, Miles Davis, McCartney, Lennon, you know, whoever it is for you, Bob Dylan. This guy wasn't of this earth, wasn't of this ilk. I mean, that guy still influences me to think outside the box creatively, artistically, in the rare lanes where I feel like I'm contributing art to anything. Anyway, that's it. That's the end of the show. You guys have been awesome. I would like you, though, tune into Morning Combat at 11 a.m. on Friday from the studio. Get fired up. Big weekend preview. Can't miss it. Also, tomorrow, Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern time, inside the box right here. You know, if you're a box head, you need some BC and Rafe Boogs in your life. You know, we're going to go fight by fight this weekend and break it all down. And you know, we're going to get Rafe's takes on Eubank Ben, and I'm probably going to wax poetic. All right. That's the way it's going to be. We're going to get fired up. All right. That's what men do. Thank you. I want you guys to remember that if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else will. It's a prerequisite. It's not always easy. It's not always an automatic skill, especially if you're going through a rough time or you've been through a rough time. Or maybe you've been told all your life that you're going nowhere and you're nobody. You're somebody, all right? But you got to decide that you are. You have to come into agreement with it first, or nobody else will. That's a true fact right there, all right? Get up, get after it, take care of yourself, and I'll see you here next week. Not 4 p.m. next Wednesday. I'll be in NYC for the MK pregame preview with Chuck Mindenhall, but we'll catch up. Maybe Tuesday. We'll catch up. All right. I'm BC. I approve this message. Check out my Patreon later for political rants, and I'll be showing my testicles at 20,000 subs. That's it. I'm out of here. Thank you very much. Probably it's a good time though to check out the greatest intro, outro, and podcast history. Shout out to the band Head Change. That's what I'm talking about. All right. That's what I'm talking about. Anthony Weller on lead guitar. They wrote this for me. They wrote this little jingle. Average Joe, Mikey, thank you. We're out of here.